Welcome back to the first FPL stream of the year, and apologies for some of the very weird transitions, but I think the laptop's just cooked. Might be the temperature, might be something else, but FPL is back, and what you see on screen isn't my first draft. It's an auto-pick team. I got my team ID, which I don't even know just yet, but we'll go straight into that later in this stream. And be sure to join the new league, which is renewed from last season, but there is a new code, ON86JX, and if you check the description below, you can also have an auto join link. You click the button and you're automatically in the league. It's great to see some of you here already, and hopefully I think the video is very choppy, and I think that's not even the internet, it's actually the laptop, and it's the source, so that's an OBS issue, so I do apologize for that. Hopefully I can fix that, but if not, it will definitely be addressed by the next stream as well. So let's get straight into your questions and comments. Thank you very much to those tuning in, but be sure to let me know if it is very choppy, because maybe it might require a restart. Andre the Giant, says Arian. So Gary says, game on, FPL game is live. Yes, it is indeed. We are back. Yes, we are indeed, Alex Leadham, and it's good to see you here once again. And actually, I just noticed something. Have I noticed something or not? Yes, because, okay, I think I know what it is. Let me just quickly change this. So yeah, apologies for some of the weird things we're seeing on screen, but like I said, the laptop is kind of acting up today, so I'm trying my best with what I have. But yeah, it typically doesn't happen. If you checked my Euro Fantasy content, we covered the Euro tournament throughout the summer, and it was a blast, and we're now back to FPL. Callum Jr., good to see you here as well. Afternoon, Dylan, unexpected stream. Yeah, same. I mean, I didn't expect to do one myself. I thought it would have been a bit later, the launch of FPL, but they did it at 2:30 PM UK time. And here we are. I'm going to build my squad very soon, but it's not too relevant because it's all about Game Week 1 once that deadline passes. Thank you very much, Gary, for tuning in, and I'll catch you very soon anyway. Don't worry about that. Southampton is finished, said, I made my draft Travers, Petrovic, Matson, Harwood Bellis, Dallo, Trent, Gabriel, Hudson-Odoi, Gordon, Luis Diaz, Saka, Palmer, Isak, Watkins, Andrew, Pedro. Should I use bench boost in Game Week 1? I'll discuss this more in future videos and podcasts, but my initial reaction would be no. Now, there won't be many double game weeks or blanks this season, but I still think it could be worth holding on to the bench boost for a bit later on. I've seen some people use the bench boost in Game Week 1 and it's paid off, but there are other occasions where it really goes tits up, really. So I probably wouldn't do it just yet. You've got a very strong squad, but my gut reaction and instinct is to say no. First things first, the new prices. Haaland is Haaland. Of course, they had to do that to my boy Palmer. Yeah, I remember when we were discussing this, not me and you necessarily, but in one of the live streams towards the end of last season, and I said Palmer should be easily over 9 million, and if anything, I'd price him at over 10 million. And some people say FPL would never do it. Lo and behold, they actually have, and it was quite surprising, to be fair. They typically don't go this kind of on the other side of the spectrum in terms of making everyone expensive. And Erling Haaland at 15 million is also good, but I don't think that'll stop many people from going for him. He's still going to have 60-70% ownership, in my opinion, but it's not going to be as bad as last season. Watkins got underpriced by complaining. He could also be on penalties, but he's not a great penalty taker. He really isn't. His record is very poor, even for Aston Villa, but it does pave the way for him to be the #1 spot taker there. And even from open play, I think he'll get plenty of goal contributions, but my prediction right now is that he won't get as many as last season. Why so much on defense? This is not my team, trust me. This is just an auto-pick team. I would not go for some of these picks, and we'll get into that very soon. They should have ball recoveries, makes the game better. I agree, but that's kind of a UEFA thing with UCL Fantasy and the Euros. Yep, it's been so long, Alex. Good to see you. Cyril says best 10 million or above player. I think Salah, with the fixtures in mind to start the season, he's probably my #1 pick, but things will probably change very soon. Chelsea kits look clean. Yeah, to be honest, I haven't paid any attention to what you see on screen right now because it's an auto-pick team, but yeah, it's not too bad considering it's Chelsea. Yeah, I have to say, it actually looks pretty good, actually. Yeah, it's a good shout. Is Haaland essential? Not essential, especially at 15 million. You can go against him with Salah for the captaincy, especially in the opening portion of the season. But yeah, of course, he's always going to be up there as one of the best options, but I wouldn't say he's essential, no. Not sure whether I like the challenge design in normal fantasy yet. Yeah, I think it's because you're used to the old design, and it is quite a strange choice to change that out of all things. I think you'll get used to it at some point. It's not too shabby, to be fair, but yeah, I think there was no real need to change it. Courage says also the new rules that have come out about the 5 new transfers, but there are less blanks and doubles, plus the fact about how you can retain transfers after the wildcard and bench boost. Yeah, I'll get into that very soon as well. My original plan in the last couple of days was to show you a preliminary draft using FPL.Team. There would have been a few players like Ortega Moreno, who didn't have his price revealed at the time, and I think his price prediction was 4.5 million. Well, he's actually 5.5 in FPL now, but I was looking to do that and also cover the new rules, but I'll do that very soon in this stream. FPL strategies need to be revealed. Yeah, but I think it's quite difficult to come up with the definitive strategy right now. We can have a good idea or discuss maybe some different approaches, but I don't think you can really talk about the best strategies right now. I think it requires more research and thought. Goalkeepers are getting 10 points if they score. Yeah, I think that's a nice change, to be fair. It's not really something you'll probably see into practice. It's so rare for a goalkeeper to score, but I think it's pretty, I'd say, well justified for that change, for a goalkeeper to get more points if we see another Alisson incident as we saw against West Brom a couple of years ago. So yeah, apologies by the way, but like I said, everything's kind of a bit choppy on my end. It's not even an internet issue, I believe, so I do apologize for that. Bob says, surely we need to fit in Haaland. Yeah, I think you don't need to fit him in, but he is going to be in my first draft, I believe. But I don't think he's essential, which was the question I was asked a few minutes ago. Mark my words, Maatsen is going to cook in FPL. If I'm not mistaken, he was in my original draft using FPL.Team, but using the FPL website, the real thing, I'll see if he makes it into it. KDB or Foden? Probably Foden, just because he's become a pivotal part of that Man City team, and Kevin De Bruyne gets so many injuries every single year now. Xerxes can be a good shout taking Man United's fixtures. He could be. We're not entirely sure yet how many games he's going to start from the get-go. He might be eased into the Premier League. That's something we've seen over the years with Manchester United. But yeah, I think that's a good shout. But I have to say, I'm going to be a bit cautious of new signings. I typically am, but sometimes you see someone like Palmer last season who hits the ground running, and he's become the player with the biggest price increase from one season to the other, a 5.5 million increase in FPL, which is insane, but it's well deserved considering how many points he scored. So let's actually talk about the rules, but once again, I'm kind of scared about the transitions at this point because everything is so slow, but it has to be done. Let's go into the FPL website and the article they put yesterday confirming all of this. So we'll talk about the article here. So the big news, of course, is being able to stack 5 free transfers. Up until now, you've only been able to bank 2 free transfers. Well, now if you're patient and plan ahead, you can accumulate up to 5. On top of that, when you play the wildcard and free hit chips, your saved transfers will no longer reset to 0. So you can now save 5 free transfers, then play any of your chips, bench boost, triple captain, wildcard, or free hit, and immediately have 5 free transfers to use in the following game week. So it says here, of course, that with a triple captain and bench boost, you've always been able to keep 2 free transfers, but not with the wildcard and free hit. But there's no rule change there, except that you can now bank the extra free transfers on top of the 2 that we're kind of accustomed to with FPL. There is a mystery chip where there's not really much need to talk about this. We can speculate, of course, but we're only going to find out in January what this mystery chip is. I think they're trying to build excitement. Hopefully it's a good one. I doubt it's going to be the Limitless from UCL Fantasy or Euros, but maybe I'm going to be completely proven wrong there. As for the pitch design, as someone rightfully mentioned, they have taken the FPL Challenge pitch design and translated it into FPL. I think we'll get used to it, but there was no real need to change that. And the change to the point scoring, which has been referred to already in the live chat. So goalkeepers and defenders conceding a goal will be worth -4 bonus points. So they have overhauled the bonus point system. A goal line clearance will be worth 3 bonus points. A foul won will be worth 1 bonus point. And a shot on target will be worth 2 bonus points. Now, the biggest changes, in fact, are the points for each goal scored by a goalkeeper is being increased from 6 to 10. I think that's a pretty good change, to be fair. But, I mean, if you get a goalkeeper goal this season, then it's something to frame on your wall because it's so rare. And that's pretty much it. Saving a penalty is also going to be reduced from 15 to 9 bonus points. So if a goalkeeper makes a penalty save, they're not kind of guaranteed to get 2 or 3 bonus points. They still have a good chance of doing it, but the chances do decrease dramatically with these changes. And as I mentioned briefly at the beginning of the stream, there are going to be fewer blank and double game weeks. The schedule of the FA Cup ties is going to be different this season, and that will result in fewer clashes between that competition and the Premier League. So as a result, fewer doubles and blanks, which might be a shame for some of us, but I think it could be a good thing. We'll talk about that, of course, when the time comes, but those are the big changes. If we look at the FDR using Fantasy Football Hub, Liverpool are top of this ticker from Game Weeks 1 to 6, and they've got some great fixtures to round off the season, or to start the season, should I say. But Manchester United away in Game Week 3 looks tough on paper, but Liverpool have a great record against the Red Devils in recent seasons. They didn't beat them last season, though, with 2 draws. Crystal Palace, Fulham, Aston Villa and Nottingham Forest complete the top 5, and that's why some people are going for Hudson-Odoi or Morgan Gibbs-White. And even from Crystal Palace, Eze, Mateta, Munoz, Mark Gay. I think there could be some decent options from these teams. If we look at the bottom 5, though, we've got Wolves, West Ham, Manchester City, Brentford and Leicester. But with Manchester City, I still think they can win the vast majority of those games. I'd say at least 4 or 5 wins from the first 6 matches, but from an FPL perspective, it is deemed quite tough, both defensively and defensively. So let's actually talk about my FPL league, as I mentioned at the beginning. So it's a very simple league code. I think it's quite easy for you to memorize. ON86JX. There is an auto-join link in the description below as well. Be sure to join this mini league. We had thousands of members last season. The same goes for Euro and UCL Fantasy over the last year or so. So be sure to do it and see if you can win this league as well. And yeah, I think it's going to be a blast. Let's wait and see how things turn out. Yeah, of course you can, Cyril. That's why I've entered a random team, and people kind of refresh the page all day long trying to get the best team ID possible. I don't even know mine yet. I think it's in the top 22,000. Yeah, I was a bit slow to it, to be honest. I had everything set up, but I was doing other stuff. And in the end, the website and, of course, FPL has gone live. But you can make a team, and that's why I'm here talking about a first draft, very quick one. I'll make a dedicated first draft video very soon, though, with more thought put into it, because I think there'll be a lot of holes in the squad that I'm about to build. But let me check, actually, if I can see my team ID. I think there is a way of doing it, but I'm gonna have to check. Let's see, actually. I think it's by viewing Game Week history. So I'm gonna do it from another tab and see. And I'll let you guys and girls know what my team ID is, but it's not too relevant. Yeah, okay, that's another account. That's for my family members, not for me. Let's see if I can find my one. Just going to give this a few seconds. All right. Ah, it's not going to let me do it from here. Oh, that's annoying. All right, I'm going to do it from here then. So we check this out now. Yeah, my team ID is 21466. That is my team ID. So there you go. It's all done. Yeah, I'm not sure now. It's saying that there's like a network issue or something, but I think it's an encoder problem with my laptop. So I do apologize for that. It very rarely happens, but yeah, it might be the heat. It might be something else entirely. I'll have a look at it very soon. But let me just build this team quite quickly, go into your questions, and then, like I said, I'll make some dedicated videos and podcasts about FPL. But let's actually start building this. And you know what? I'll go for a few questions first. Most people will end up with Haaland, as it's harder to get him if he returns. Yeah, and you look at certain fixtures like Ipswich in the first few game weeks. Yeah, I still think his ownership will be ridiculously high. Would the team be locked after pressing the enter squad button? No. You have unlimited transfers until the Game Week 1 deadline. Alisson got me thinking with the 10 points goalkeeper score. It's the last kind of goalkeeper goal we've seen in the Premier League, actually, and that was 3-4 years ago. To help Liverpool finish in the top, what was it, the top 4 that season, or 5th? But yeah, I remember that. It seems like such a long time ago. Best 2 goalkeepers. I was looking at Ortega, but he is priced at 5.5 million. I think one of Ortega or Raya does appeal to me, but I'm going to have a look now when I'm building my team, and I'll give you a better answer. Imagine Xerxes gets injured on his debut. Well, hopefully not. I don't want to see that. But I very much doubt that Xerxes will be a guaranteed starter and be nailed on from the get-go. Yeah, Vardy could be a steal, but he is approaching the twilight of his career. He's not going to start every single game, but if he can nail down a spot for at least the beginning of the season, at 5.5, we could see a very good option there. The template is nuked this season, says Digital. We'll wait and see. You just know Vardy is going to score against Spurs. He's got a great record against top 6 clubs. And yeah, Tottenham aren't the best defensively under Ange Postecoglou. That could be a very high-scoring game, though, and you'd still expect Tottenham to win that. But let's see which players both teams sign this summer. The mystery chip could be anything. I think it's going to be quadruple captain, but that's just me. Yeah, that's a shout. It could also be kind of an original chip they had in FPL before, like all-out attack, but I think it'll be something new. I like that no one mentions Trent, a must-have for my team. When I was making my FPL.Team draft, Trent was in it originally, and I was going to talk about this in a video, but with FPL launching today, there was no real need to do that. How do you find your ID when you can't click on points? The way you check it is by going to view Gameweek history on the FPL website, and you can do it on your phone, but you need to go on your browser, go to FPL that way. You might be able to view your Gameweek history from the app, to be fair, and if you are able to, it might be possible, but I think it's just best to do it from a browser. I have Trent and I'm going to captain him. Let's wait and see if you feel the same way in a month's time, but maybe. This isn't about FPL, but have you seen the new UCL format? Like a mini league for the top 8? I have seen it, and I'll do more research on it when I make my UCL fantasy content. That should be a good one as well. An overhaul to the Champions League format. We could see some changes to the UCL fantasy game. But yeah, I'm going to kind of keep my opinions to myself, because let's wait and see, because yeah, I want to give it a go. I'm kind of a traditionalist. I think maybe the Champions League didn't need that many changes, but maybe it'll be for the best. Fair enough, Courage. I mean, look, I didn't do too well in FPL last season, but in Euro Fantasy, UCL, I did quite well, especially in the Champions League. I'm hoping to replicate that into FPL next season, but it is very tough. There's like 10 million players. The player base is growing every single season, and the template is so strong generally. If I'm to talk about it, it would be when I'm above you. Well, hopefully that's not the case, but obviously good luck to you. I hope you do really well in FPL, and ultimately, I think the time will come. Birthday party, you have to go through this. I love Amon, you have to go. What? I don't know what you mentioned there at the end, but yeah, it is a FPL birthday party, you could say. I'm not really that, I'd say, stoked about it just yet, but maybe over the next month, I'll get a bit more excited. Imagine Gay is our starting, or Giui is our starting forward next season. Why is Ortega 5.5 million? Edison deal is off. I think they had that news in mind about Edison going to Saudi Arabia. That's probably a big reason why, but I don't know. The last time I checked, I think it was maybe 1 or 2 days ago, the deal was still on. Do you think Cancelo will fit in Pep's plan as a star? No, I don't think that'll be the case. I think he'll be loaned out again or sold. I just don't see him staying at Manchester City now. Thoughts on Jota at 7.5 million? I think the minutes and injuries are a big concern, but if he can nail down a spot, I think Jota is one of the most efficient players in the Premier League, and even off the bench, he can make an impact. But yeah, Jota's a very streaky player. He's not someone you can rely on from the start to finish. Can I get hang on how things work? This is my first time on FPL. Fair enough. I mean, look, the way it works is you have to pick 2 goalkeepers, 5 defenders, 5 midfielders, and 3 forwards, just like in Euro, UCL, or World Cup Fantasy, which I've covered on this channel as well. We've got a 100 million budget, and so long as you stay within that, you're perfectly fine. But you have to pick 3 players from a certain club. It can't be more than that. And there are several chips. For example, the wild card, which you can't play just yet because you have unlimited transfers to make your Gameweek 1 team. But whenever you play the wild card, and by the way, you get 2 of them per season, 1 for the first half and 1 for the second, you can make permanent changes to your squad. The free hit means changes to your team for a single Gameweek only. Then your team reverts back to how it was before you played the chip. And then you've got the bench boost, where everyone on your bench will contribute towards your final score, because normally it's your starting 11 that contributes to your score and nothing else. You can captain a player, only 1 per game week, and that player's points will be doubled. If they get negative points, they'll still be doubled, and it'll be double the whammy there for you. And the other chip is the the triple captain, where your captain will score triple the number of points instead of double the number of points. So every single chip can be used once per season, except the wild card, which can be used twice. We've also got a new chip now in FPL called the mystery chip. We don't know what it is. They'll reveal it, in January. So there's no real need to talk about that just yet. But I think that's a pretty decent synopsis and overview of FPL to a beginner. But yeah, I'm going to start building this squad now and seeing what I come up with. But expect many changes. This is not going to stick. There's no denying that. So if we have a look at goalkeepers right now, David Raya and Ortega are appealing to me at the moment. Onana's crossing my mind. Emi Martinez, Pickford, despite being 5 million. I think for now, what I'm going to do is go for... I mean, Alisson as well with the fixtures, actually. Now that I think about it, if you don't go for Trent, I think going for Alisson in goal could be a decent shout. He can make plenty of saves and get bonus points. I'll go for Ortega for now, but this is not locked in. And who knows what happens with the Edison transfer saga, but I'd still expect him to move based on all the news I've seen throughout the summer. I'm also going to go for a cheap option in goal. So, by the way, Walton, the Ipswich Town goalkeeper, was expected to be 4 million in the FPL.Team website, but he's actually 4.5, so he is a bit less appealing, if I'm being honest. I might just go for another 4.5 million goalkeeper instead, even a Neto or Flecken, but it has to be said, Brentford have pretty tough fixtures to start the season. So yeah, you know what, for now, I think what I'm going to do is just go for... Let's go for Flecken, but trust me, I think these two goalkeepers will probably change by the time I make my first draft, and especially when I get to my team selection next month. Let's go to defenders, which will be a bit more interesting. So Branthwaite is 5 million in price. I think that's completely fair. Munoz is 5 million. The Arsenal defenders are all 6 million except Ben White, who's 6.5. Even Jurriën Timber, who barely played last season, is priced at 5.5. With Newcastle, let's see what Botman is. I think he'd be 5 million. No, he's 4.5, but he's out until December anyway. So that is a shame. Hopefully he recovers very soon. Trent is priced at 7 million. I'll put him in for now. I think Liverpool's opening start to the season is fantastic, but I have to say it's going to be difficult to fit him and also a Salah and a Haaland in the same squad. It's possible, but you also want a balanced 15-man team. So I think for now I'll put Munoz. Great Copa America with Colombia. Didn't play the final because he got a stupid red card in the semi-finals against Uruguay. But he's had a great season for Palace, a great start to his career in the Premier League, and he continued that with the national team. Yeah, this is going to be difficult, I'm not going to lie. But in terms of FPL, I'm literally reacting to this right now. I've launched it, gone live, and now I'm just building the team. But yeah, there's going to be some hidden gems. There's going to be some that I'm not even going to cover today, but I certainly will in future videos. I'll put Robinson for now. He was in my FPL.Team draft, and actually, we might use that as a guideline as well. So if we go now to FPL.Team, I went for something like this, but you wouldn't be able to afford this in FPL because Ortega is 5.5 million, not 4.5. But I went for Ortega, Gabriel, Maguire, Lewis Hall, Eze, Gibbs-White, Gordon, Salah, Haaland, Isak, and Joao Pedro, with Walton, Munoz, Robinson, and Hinselwood on the bench. But there will be plenty of changes, trust me. I think what I'm going to do instead of going by position is kind of pick certain players I'm quite confident on, and that includes a Gordon or Isak in my team, Salah or Haaland, maybe even both. So I'm going to do that now when going back to the FPL website. So, yeah, once again, I do apologize for the transitions and stuff. I'm not sure exactly why the encoder is bugging out today. Might just be the laptop needs a restart. But let's go to Erling Haaland. We'll bring him in for now. Isak, and I'll put Joao Pedro, who could be a bargain at 5.5 million. As for midfielders, I'll put Salah, and by the way, I know I'm going to be over budget once I complete this squad, but afterwards I'll try to find some downgrades and some gems, budget players who can really make the difference. So let's put Anthony Gordon for now. Eze, once again, it'll probably be temporary. It's going to be impossible to afford all these players at the same time. Gibbs-White is quite appealing to me considering the opening fixtures, but not locked in. Even Leon Bailey has crossed my mind, especially if I don't go for Ollie Watkins up front. But yeah, I have to say, not too bad so far with the picks, but I think the likes of Trent would have to make way in order to afford this squad. So I think one thing I'm going to do for now is remove Trent, go for Alisson in goal. And I'll go for one Arsenal player at least, but their opening start to the season is very, very poor. Let's put Alisson in there. Let's put Gabriel for now. Okay, so 18.5 million, and I've got 4 positions to fill, including 2 midfielders. It just simply, it's not going to work. I'm going to have to go for something else, but let's see. Let's go back to your questions now for a little bit, whilst I deliberate on how to fix the rest of this 15-man squad. Edison is staying, by the way, says, yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah, it looks like there's probably an update over the last day or so. Ah, yes, Vardy is back. Yeah, I'm covering for Joao Pedro at the moment over him at 5.5 million, but Vardy's a consideration. Yeah, they finished 4th, but Alisson is the goalkeeper with the highest attacking threat. Yeah, he even got an assist against Man City the season before last for Mohamed Salah. I think he did it against Manchester United as well. Yeah, Dewsbury Hall could be a shout at Chelsea, but I don't think he'll get as many goal contributions this season, playing in a tougher league and also in a different system. He might not start every game for Chelsea, but he is a good player. I think it could be a good signing. Mystery Chip, I think playing free hit, triple captain and bench boost together in one Gameweek would be interesting. Yeah, it would be. I don't think they'll do that, by the way. I personally wouldn't want to play all 3 of them at the same time, or even 2 of them, because it could really go up in flames. Of course, you can look at the positive side of it and what it could result in, but yeah, unless it's a major double game week, which we'll likely not get this season, I'm not so sure. I think Trent and Gakpo is better value than Salah and a 4.5. Yeah, I was actually considering Gakpo, especially considering the Euro tournament he just had. And if he plays as a left winger under Arne's slot, you know, there could be a nice combination going there. But with Gakpo, you can't really guarantee the minutes, competing with Jota, Luis Diaz on the left-hand side, and Darwin Nunez up front. And I don't think Gakpo should play there. Built a team without Haaland and the attackers look insane. Watkins, Pedro, Isak, Foden, KDB, Jota and Kuku Saka. That's the good thing about Haaland being priced at 15 million. It results in you able to spread the funds by going without him and going for such a stacked midfield and forward line as you just mentioned. Another Bailey Diaby start. Yeah, I think Bailey would be my preference right now, but Diaby was the go-to guy at the beginning of last season. Any thoughts on formation? I'm thinking 5-2-3. Not in this one. In UCL Fantasy and Euros, with ball recoveries, I think you can go for a back 5, but in FPL, I'd probably just go for 3 or 4. So thoughts on Haaland? I think I'm still going to go for him, but it's not guaranteed. And as someone just mentioned now, and I think it was, let's see his name, it was Michael. He built a very strong attack and midfield by going without Haaland. So for me, he's not essential, which I was asked at the beginning of this stream. But I still think in certain fixtures like Ipswich, it's going to be tough to go without him, and he's going to be owned by over 70% of the game still. Bruno could be a steal for 8.5 million, yes, and he had a great end to the season. Did very well in the final, and in the Premier League he was scoring or assisting in every single game virtually. Seems to be getting Foden over Saka. Yeah, I think with fixtures in mind, I mean, City's look tougher according to the FDR I showed you earlier, but I don't know. I think with Arsenal, they've got some very tough fixtures. For example, Aston Villa, you know, they couldn't even score a single goal against them last season. I think they should have. They played some good football, but yeah, I think Arsenal have a very tough start. Is FPL about luck or skill? It's a combination of both. Ultimately, in my opinion, it's mainly luck. There is an element of maybe 20-30% skill if you had to put a percentage, but I think a lot of it comes down to luck. And the same goes for other fantasy formats as well. Oh dear. England, the bottlers, the refs rejected their money. To be fair with England, yeah, true. The penalty against the Netherlands, for me, was never a penalty, but in the other games, they weren't benefited by referees, especially in terms of major decisions. They reached the final through individual quality, and the best team in the competition won in Spain. Absolutely illogical, justified price changes for this season. Do you think content creators influence these illogical high prices? Definitely not me. I just make videos and, you know, I haven't really talked about prices that much in general. I mean, when I was asked about it in live streams, I said, I think Palmer should be priced at over 9 million at the very least, potentially over 10 million, which is what they've done. I personally think the prices have been good. It makes it more difficult to build a 50-man squad, and hopefully it causes people to go about Haaland, or to at least go for a different sort of structure, and it opens up the template and everyone goes for something different, like we see in UCL Fantasy, especially when the group stages begins. So I disagree, to be honest with you, but then again, I don't watch other content creators or what they're saying, so maybe they had influence. Honestly, I have no idea. Diaby is going to Saudi Arabia. Yeah, that is true. That is true. There are certain players that are going to go there, and Diaby is one of them. Isn't there a new chip? Yes, it's called the mystery chip. We know nothing about it just yet. I think it'll be revealed in January, so I don't think it's really worth talking about too much. We can speculate and discuss ideas, but yeah, it's all about the chips that we have already from previous seasons. We've got something new here, but we won't find out for another few months. How important really is the ID rank? Not that important, just makes it easier for you to remember your ID. And also, if you've got the same points as someone, I think it then comes down to certain factors like your team ID, but honestly, it's not a big deal. Not for me, anyway. I just can't let myself spend too much on goalkeepers. Yeah, that's fair enough, to be fair. I feel the same way, typically, even though I love goalkeepers in general. I played there myself, but in FPL, it's worth saying they're the kind of, it's the least important position. You want to kind of get spot on in a way, so you don't have to make more transfers there, and instead focus on your outfield players. But yeah, I think that's fair enough. Calafiori to Arsenal is a done deal at this point. It's just a matter of time. Yeah, it's quite surprising that Arsenal are going for another defender, but if you think about it, if Gabriel or Saliba get injured, yeah, you have Tomiyasu and White who can play centre-back, and Juri and Timber, but it's always good to add a bit more squad depth. I personally think a midfielder is the most important, then a striker or winger, perhaps even both, but I doubt Arsenal will get all of that business done. Trent to Madrid is getting more heated. There's a lot of transfer rumours right now. I try to ignore as much as possible, but I have seen those rumours flying around for a month now. Darwin for the win? Sorry, no. It might be in his name, but not for me. Anderson instead of Munoz? Yeah. Anderson was quite good for ball recoveries in the last couple of seasons. He's got a bit of goal threat. Also Mark Gay. But with no ball recoveries in this game, I think Joachim Anderson would be my preference over Mark Gay. And then with Munoz, I just think he's got bonus points potential. He can score and assist. He did it in the Copa America and also for Crystal Palace last season. So I still prefer Munoz a little bit more, but Anderson is a very good shout. The face no one is talking about is Bernardo Silva. The thing is with Bernardo Silva, goals and assists wise, he can't compete with De Bruyne or Phil Foden, but he will play far more minutes than Kevin De Bruyne, and he'll probably score more points as a result for the entire season. But when KDB is fit and starting games, you'd always fancy him instead. And as for Phil Foden, he was player of the season last time out, and I also think in terms of goals and assists, he's a different beast for Manchester City compared to England. Good to see you, Beardy. Wout Fast could be good. He was in Euro Fantasy, but with ball recoveries not being a factor, I'd probably look elsewhere. I'm going to check his price though, and you know, you could be onto something, to be fair. Yeah, he has 4 million actually. I mean, that is a good shout. That is a good shout. As a fifth defender, he's not someone I'd want to start every single week, but yeah, a 4 million starter, you can't really ask for much more. He scored twice for Leicester in 46 games last season in the Championship. Yeah, I'll probably add him for now. I appreciate the suggestion. It's not locked in though. I have to say that and make it very clear. Have Vestergaard as my bench option. Another good shout. Fast over Vestergaard. Vestergaard got 13 yellows last season. Yeah, I can't remember exactly how many Wout Fast got, but nowhere near as many as that. I did obviously a lot of research on Wout Fast going into the Euro tournament. I had him for the group stages, and he was very good for me. So yeah, I think the Wout Fast shouts from all of you are very good. Adnan and George22. In Cuckoo, yes. In FPL.Team, it was between him, Eze, Gibbs, White, and a few others around 6 to 7 million for that midfielder slot. Yeah, I like Nkuku. The only bad thing is the opening fixture against Manchester City, but I think he could be, maybe not to the same level as Palmer last season, but he could be that sort of revelationary 6 to 6.5 million midfielder who really bursts onto the scene. Palmer's a different beast though. He started at 5 million, scored 11 penalties, scored over 200 FPL points. We're not going to see that again from Palmer, I think, in terms of the penalty output and the amount of goals. As for Nkuku, if he can stay fit, I think he can score 10 to 15 Premier League goals next season. I'm going to put him in for now, but he is not locked in. I've got 8 million left for 2 slots here. Let's actually put Hinselwood for now. Actually, Hinselwood is 5 million, so I might have to look for an even cheaper midfielder there. But as you can see, there's still a few details to iron out. Thoughts on Leno? I don't really trust Fulham defensively, but they've got a good opening start to the season. I've got Robinson in my current draft, which you see on screen, and I have to say, I'm going to look to change that personally, but I think Leno's the best way of covering Fulham defensively. So, yeah, I think it'd be Leno, then Robinson, and then you're looking at the other Fulham defenders there. Foul scored of own goals, is it? Hopefully not next season, which is what counts for us. Jose Sar's got an assist or save penalty every season. First time at 4.5. Yeah, Jose Sar was a great option in FPL 2 or 3 years ago, and he always produces a decent amount of points. And with Wolves, let's wait and see how they kind of build upon what Gary O'Neill did last season. But yeah, I think that's a very good shout, actually. If you had to choose Isak or Gordon, probably Gordon. 3 chips in 1 day sounds crazy. Yeah, I mean, look, it's a good idea. It's something different, but I personally wouldn't want to play 2 or 3 chips or have a chip that enabled you to do that. My team ID is like 21,000 something. I covered it earlier. I'm not really too bothered about team ID. I had the FPL website loaded. I refreshed quite quickly once it went live, but I just forgot to auto pick and select the squad. I could have got an even higher or a lower team ID, so to speak, but it's not really too important. Thank you, Thomas. Yeah, Copa America. I stayed up until 5 a.m. watching that. In fact, I ended up staying up until 7 a.m. It's just crazy. I mean, the delayed start, absolute disaster by CONMEBOL and, you know, all the organizers at the Hard Rock Stadium. But at least it was a good game, very competitive. It could have gone either way, but I just think Argentina, with the mentality and the experience of finals, you'd always, well, I at least had that feeling they'd get the job done. Thoughts on Havertz? Very wasteful finisher. We saw at the Euros as well, but he had a great end to the season with Arsenal. In the run-in, he stepped up in most matches with goals and assists. I'm personally still favouring Saka, Odegaard and a few others, but Havertz is still a decent shout up front. Mystery chip could be triple squad points. For 1 game week, you triple all the points from that game week. I mean, yeah, look, we're kind of speculating a lot of different ideas here, and one of you could be right, and hopefully we can remember who said these things a few months down the line. But it's quite weird for FPL to do this. I don't think they've ever done it where they announce a chip, they call it a mystery one, and they say they're going to reveal it in January. So they're building a lot of hype for this. Hey Dylan, what do you think about having any Man United players in your FPL team, or try stay away? Well, depending on prices, I might even go for United defender, which seems crazy considering that they considered the most shots of any team last season alongside Sheffield United. But yeah, I'm going to have a look at their defender options now because, like I said, I'm literally reacting to this live and I don't know all the prices off by heart now. So that will obviously change in future streams. Maguire, if for example, is priced at 5 million, same with Dalot. I think they could be fairly decent. Dalot would be my preference out of the two. I think Rashford would be the one, actually, with that massive price decrease to 7 million. Yeah, I think Rashford would be my favourite. When we saw him go down in price to this sort of level a few years ago, he had one of his best ever campaigns. So I'm not saying he's going to do the same thing this time round, but I think Rashford would be my favourite, actually. And someone obviously mentioned Xerxes. I think it was Adnan. He could be onto something there as well. And I've got 1 million left in the bank after building this 14-man squad so far. So as you can tell, something needs to change. I'm actually going to try out something a bit different. So going to get rid of Haaland for now. I'm not saying this is going to stick until Gameweek 1, so just bear that in mind. But let's go for Isak and Watkins here alongside Joao Pedro, and let's see what we can do with this extra money. So, well, we can go for Trent Alexander-Arnold. That's one thing I can do, and have this sort of midfield, which I'd be very happy with. But as you can see, there would be a benching dilemma every single week. One of the 3 forwards or 5 midfielders would have to be benched. So that obviously would have to change. And actually, what I might do here is... Okay, I think I know I'm going to start to do. I'm going to check the budget midfielder options now and see if we can identify anybody who could really offer great value there. He'd be a 5th midfielder and kind of come in every now and then. One other player actually I want to check is, well, the Newcastle defenders, Livramento, Lewis Hall. So yeah, Hall is 4.5 million. Great start to the season. That could be a decent shout. You know what? For now, I'm going to put him instead of Robinson. Double up in the Liverpool defense, not the greatest to be fair. So yeah, as you can see, a lot of indecision, and we're still a month away from the deadline pretty much. But yeah, it's not too important. I'm just going to start, whizzing through these, I think, and seeing what I can come up with. Jose Sa, someone mentioned earlier, is a very good shout. So I'm going to put him in for now. In terms of fixtures, kind of mixed bag, but he could be a decent rotating goalkeeper. And I think at 4.5 million, he can offer tremendous value. So I'm going to get rid of Flecken for now. I don't want to spend too much money in this position. As Wei Seng said, it's something I typically don't do. But I will experiment and see what I kind of like in terms of team structure. So let's go for David Raya. Okay, let's go for him for now. Now, his fixtures are also pretty poor, and you'd be hoping for maybe nice rotation with Wolves, and to be fair, there could be, and I'll talk about that very soon. So Ryan Jose Sa in the back line, I'm going to go for Gvardiol at this moment in time. I think the rest of the defense looks pretty solid, all things considered. I'm going to go for a budget midfielder. If not, I'll go for a budget forward and then go for 5 midfielders and go for this 3-5-2 or 4-4-2, depending on the game week. But yeah, Watkins, Isak. Let's see if I can actually do something with Erling Haaland. I very much doubt it. Yeah, it'd require Trent being downgraded again. So I'll fix that eventually. That's a bit strange. Okay. Be sure to smash the like button if you haven't already, by the way, and support the channel. We made a lot of growth throughout the Euros tournament, and we're hoping for more of the same in FPL this time round. And also, of course, UCL Fantasy will be covered in around 1 or 2 months. I think the game goes live in September. What do you think about Chris Wood up front? Not really too appealed by him, to be honest. He's kind of hit and miss. We saw it last season, scored a hat-trick at St James's Park, and then he has some absolute stinkers in there as well. But if you were to go for a Nottingham Forest player, my favourite would be Gibbs White. Even the likes of Hudson-Odoi, Elanga could be decent. Look, Chris Wood's not a bad shout, I'm not going to lie, but I'd much rather go for Gibbs White. It's me that thought Haaland not essential last season and the rest is history. Well, yeah, I mean, he was still pretty good, but not essential. And yeah, with the price tag at 40 million last season, I think we discussed this as well. And now that he's 50 million, he certainly isn't, essential for me. Manice better than Pedro for me. Yeah, that could be one. Also, Jamie Vardy. We've got plenty of 5.5 million forwards at the moment. Thoughts on having Foden, KDB, and a 4.5 million forward, or Watkins and a 4.5 million forward? Ooh, it's a difficult one to judge. I'd rather have Watkins than KDB, based on fitness and also the amount of minutes he's going to play. I also think Villa's fixtures are very impressive to start the season. At the moment, I lean towards Watkins, but Foden, I think, will build upon last season and have a good campaign again. I wouldn't go for Enzo Fernandez in FPL. Obviously, he had a good Copa America, some shaky moments, just came back from an injury, and he was a star in the World Cup, but FPL-wise, I just don't really see him getting many goals or assists. You get your team ID by going to View Gameweek History on the browser. Ready for another season of frustration and luck? Well, that's a good synopsis of FPL. That's pretty much how it is. I don't really see it myself. There are rumours that England will go for an interim manager and wait for Pep to be available, but it seems like Pep will sign an extension at Manchester City. And it wouldn't surprise me if he wants to break the records of Premier League titles set by Ferguson. And he'll probably do it if he stays another 10, 20 years. And he's not going to stay 20 years, by the way. Even 10 would be pushing it a lot. I think Pep will stay for another, I'd say 2 to 3 years and then go. I can't justify Haaland for 50 million. That is Watkins plus 6, which is very hard to get. Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I think in certain fixtures, though, he's going to go ballistic. But we always have that sort of struggle, even with Salah, for example. And you have plenty of options right now. Son, Saka, Palmer, Foden, also Salah himself. They can all against Haaland for the captaincy, especially Salah, given Liverpool's opening start to the season. Morgan Rogers could be this season's gem if the RB leaves. Yeah, I think Aston Villa have a few decent options, actually. Some young players who can really make the difference in a few years' time. Maybe even this season. My team name is La Scaloneta, which is kind of a reference to the Argentina team, and the manager. Diaz time. Not for me. He had a good tournament. I think he scored 2 goals in Copa America. And for Liverpool, I think it's a bit hit or miss in terms of GA, which is what we really need from a midfielder in this game. Is there a benefit to bringing in a player now set to leave the Premier League? Not really, to be honest. I mean, unless you want to go for 4 players from the same club, but then the next time you make transfers, you'll be forced into making a transfer to get rid of that. Why do Arsenal want Calafiori? Well, he's a young defender with a lot of potential. Now, before the Euro tournament, I haven't seen much, if anything, of Calafiori, and it is quite surprising for Arsenal to go for that sort of signing where a player gets a lot of hype from an international tournament and they go for him, but he was linked to many clubs and I think he's got a decent ceiling, but then again, I've only seen him in 4 matches and it's difficult to judge. Now, I think Arsenal need as much squad depth as they can get, but the main positions they need is in the midfield and also a forward, either a striker or a winger. But I think another defender isn't a bad thing, and they have a lot of versatility now. They can go for Calafiori at left back or centre back. You've got Jurrien Timber, who can play anywhere across the back line. Gabriel can play centre back, and I think at times, if needed, you could play as a left back. You've got Saliba there. Ben White can play multiple positions. Tomiyasu, same thing. He's 2-footed. So I think that's probably the last defender they need. Another one would be pushing it. What do you think about Darwin? Just not really there yet. I'd be more interested in Gakpo, but with all these Liverpool attackers, bar Salah, there will be rotation, and it's difficult to judge with Arne Slot being the new manager, and pre-season hasn't even started yet. Darwin Núñez, the new Palmer, there's no chance, mate. And look, I'm not even hating with Palmer. He had a great season. He's obviously a very talented player, but he also had 11 penalties. First off, we're not going to see Darwin taking 11 penalties. It's Salah who's number 1 for Liverpool there. You've also got McAllister second in command, and Darwin Núñez is so poor in front of goal. I'd say Palmer is a better finisher already. Watching Dylan stream and playing Football Manager. Well, thank you very much for tuning in, and yeah, enjoy Football Manager. It's a good game. Haven't played much of it myself though. Saka, entering my thoughts, but I'm not really too sure about Arsenal players. I think 1 is probably good, maybe even 2. But their fixtures are quite tough to start the season. Note, ball recoveries are not in FPL. Martinez or Raya? Well, Martinez is slightly cheaper, and he's got good fixtures to start the season. So I think Arsenal will keep more clean sheets, and Raya will end up scoring more points. But I don't know. I have to say Martinez is entering my thinking right now. I don't know. I mean, Trossard, I think, is better as a false 9. And as for Martinelli, he's also arguably a good number 9. He just hasn't really played there in a couple of years. And we can't forget how good Martinelli can be. But yeah, compared to the right wing and also the midfielders, it's definitely a step down, both Trossard and Martinelli. Luis Diaz is going to be a better choice than Salah. I mean, you might be right, but I very much doubt it at the moment. Yeah, what about Saka? He's crossing my mind. He's always going to be a consideration for me, but I don't think I'm going to go there just yet. Can you delete previous leagues? Yes, you can. If you go to the FPL website and you go to the kind of cog, so the settings icon, if you click on it, I think there's an option to delete leagues and also to change the name, generate a new code, which I did for this stream as well. Thank you very much, Thomas. Massively appreciated. Garnacho. Yeah, so obviously, we shouldn't look too much into international tournaments. For example, I think Gakpo's better for the Netherlands than he is for Liverpool. And of course, he just joined the Premier League. We'll see how he does next season. Garnacho only played 1 game in the Copa America, but for Man United, he's becoming more and more important. He scored in the FA Cup final, and that could be another good shout, to be fair. Yeah, likewise, Carl. Good to see you again. Someone in my name league has a double-digit ID. It's mad how much people care about ID. Yeah, I agree. I'm not really too fussed about it. I've got a decent ID, so to speak, but honestly, it's not too relevant. While Diaby is linked with a move away, he might not even stay at Aston Villa, but I'd rather go for Bailey in the midfield regardless. Yeah, Chelsea goalkeeper is another one. Burn at 4.5 is a steal. Yes, I mean, I've got Hall at the moment for a bit more attacking potential, but yeah, Burn could be another one. He's also an Eddie Howe favourite. But you know what? I'm going to make some adjustments to this team and see what I can at least finalize something, you know, before we end this stream. So let's go for Martinez. one of the best goalkeepers in the world, another great international tournament. And for Aston Villa, he's always quite dependable. He has a few mistakes in him, to be fair, but I think the main issue by going for Martinez and Jose Sa is looking at the rotation. So if we look at the fixture difficulty, let's actually just look at Aston Villa and Wolves here. So let's put Aston Villa and Wolves using Fantasy Football Hub. So in Gameweek 1, you've got Aston Villa facing West Ham away, whilst Wolves have Arsenal away, so you'd go for Emi Martinez there. In Gameweek 2, both of them were difficult games. Arsenal at home, Chelsea at home. Gameweek 3 looks a bit better, and you'd rather go for Jose Sa on paper against Forest away, but not a guaranteed clean sheet, actually. Gameweek 4, home fixtures for both teams, Everton and Newcastle. You'd probably go for Emi Martinez there. You'd go for Emi Martinez again in Gameweek 5 and also Gameweek 6. But yeah, that could be a decent goalkeeper rotation. Not too great for the first 2 Gameweeks though, especially Gameweek 2 where both of them have a tough game, but football's not played on paper. That's the bottom line of it. And if we actually look at how Jose Sa would rotate with David Raya, so of course you've got the matchup in Gameweek 1, you'd go for Raya there. In Gameweek 2, difficult for both teams there yet again. Gameweek 3 looks a bit better. Gameweek 4, pretty tough. Yeah, I think actually in terms of rotation, it's probably best to go for Martinez and Jose Sa instead of Raya. So not really feeling Raya at the moment. I think later down the line he'll be a good option, but in terms of fixtures, it's not looking great for the Gunners. So yeah, Martinez, Jose Sa looks like a decent goalkeeper pairing, but it's not locked in for me. Let's actually now, I'd say downgrade one of these midfielders. I think that's what I'm going to do. And I'll have to downgrade one of Trent or Haaland. So let's go for, yeah, I'm going to go for Watkins for now. In the midfield, I'm going to go for some tough decisions to be made here. I'm still looking at one Arsenal defender potentially, or even an attacker. Now, with, once again, I mentioned this earlier, having these 5 midfielders and then 3 forwards, one of them will have to be benched every single week, and it will lead to some benching dilemmas. But yeah, you know what? For now, I know some of you might be thinking, what are you doing? But it's just an initial team. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to go for one of these 4.5 million forwards. Doesn't really matter who. More research will be done to determine the best options there and see if there are any starters. But yeah, I'm going to go for an Odegaard here in the midfield or Bruno Fernandes. In fact, I'll go for Bruno Fernandes for now. So I'm quite happy with this sort of setup, but of course it's not perfect. You've got Nkunku facing Man City in Gameweek 1. The goalkeepers might not be the best in terms of clean sheets. And also no Erling Haaland, which will be a big blow in Gameweek 2, for example. No Arsenal coverage whatsoever. So as you can see, it's literally a first draft and a lot of it is very rough. But I will start to fine-tune some details very soon. Cancelo ain't going to stay at City. Yeah, I agree. I don't see him staying there, personally. Do you think Slot will start well with Liverpool? I personally think he will. Yeah, I think with the fixtures in mind, I think Liverpool will be quite... I think they'll have a decent start. Now, I don't expect them to challenge for the league, but you just never know. My personal prediction for Liverpool is finishing 3rd or 4th. But yeah, I think they'll have a good start. Anderson cheaper, true. I think Munoz will offer more points and more attacking potential, but yeah, Joachim Anderson is arguably better for bonus points. Joao Pedro, 2 bad fixtures. Yeah. I think Joao Pedro will offer good value, but yeah, fixtures are also quite important. Not gonna lie, England fans shouldn't be sad when their new manager can't get them past the round of 16. For me, Southgate's done a good job in terms of restoring belief in the national team and instilling a team spirit, but I just don't think he's the man in terms of tactics or having the mentality to get England over the line, and maybe the next England manager will do that, but it all depends on the appointment. How many goals does Haaland need over the season to be worth 50 million? Well, for him to be worth 50 million throughout the entire campaign, I'd say over 30 goals. But yeah, there will be certain points in the season where Haaland will seem essential, and I still think he's one of the best options in the game. No way, just saw it's Cooper that's managing Leicester currently by Vardy. Yeah, it was quite a surprising appointment. But with Jamie Vardy, I still think he'll offer something. I don't think he'll start every single game, and there could be rotation there with Iheanacho and the other forwards, but yeah, I think Vardy will have a part to play. I disagree, Southampton is finished. For me, Enzo Fernandez is a good player. I think he made the wrong decision to go to Chelsea, and I said it when it happened. He should have stayed at Benfica for a little while longer. Man City were interested. He could have gone to many clubs in the world that are better than Chelsea, but yeah, one bad decision can lead to that sort of reputation being mudded. But he still performs for Argentina, which is what I care about most, so I'm still quite happy with him. Foden or Haaland? Haaland. Enzo, no, I wouldn't go for him. Jackson, he had a great end to the season, to be fair. I'm quite open to that, possibility. I'd actually rather go for Jackson than Darwin Nunez, I'll say it right now, but Liverpool have better fixtures. Do you think you should go for both Salah or Haaland? You can go for both and still have a balanced team, but of course, it makes it more difficult to do it. I'm not so sure. I still think Arsenal can win 4 out of the first 5 games, maybe even all 5, but it will be difficult. Can't see Diaz starting over Gakpo. Yeah, I mean, look, it's so difficult to judge. We haven't even seen preseason start yet, but I think Diaz will get plenty of game time and start a lot of games. We could see both of them in the same system, but Gakpo up front just doesn't work. In the first game week, are there unlimited transfers up to the deadline? Yeah. Once the Game Week 1 deadline passes, then you'll see the normal system where you can now have up to 5 free transfers as covered at the beginning of the stream. Community Shield predictions. I think City will get revenge and win it. Not sure exactly about scoreline, but I'd go for a Man City win. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Man City. I don't really think ID matters too much, but I think once, for example, if you've got the same rank as somebody else and there are a lot of other kind of like tiebreakers, I think it then comes down to your team ID, but I don't think it's that relevant. I don't think it's important or essential to pick an Arsenal attacker. I think it's always good to have one of them, and I'd back them to score a lot of goals again this season, to have some of the best options in the midfield, even possibly in the forward line, but I wouldn't say it's essential. Who would be my top pick? Ideally Saka. If budget is an issue, I'd probably go for an Odegaard, actually. Also McAllister. Quality player, but FPL-wise, I think there are better options elsewhere. If you're still at Brighton, I'd probably think a bit differently, but at Liverpool, I think he plays more of a defensive role. Last season, he played at defensive midfield in a lot of games, but with Arne Slot, we could see something different. I think Liverpool still need that defensive midfielder, push McAllister a bit further forward, and have a more balanced midfield. Yeah, Cameron Archer gone to Villa. Well, he was at Villa originally, and then he was on loan at other clubs, and now he's back. New defenders at Newcastle. Burns might not play. He is kind of a favourite for Eddie Howe, but you might be right. For now, I'd be backing Lewis Hall to start games, and he's in my draft at the moment. Turner, not too sure about the Nottingham Forest goalkeepers, Vlaco Dimas. You got Turner, and also Sells, who was the #1 at the end of the season. Always remember rules, #1 of FPL, never go against Haaland. I think you can go against him, though. For a lot of last season, people went against him and were in great ranks. I think there are opportunities to go against him, but it's about picking your moments and getting them spot on. I'd probably say Hall, Priya. I'd go for Lewis Hall. Thoughts on De Bruyne? If he can stay fit and nail down a spot, of course, De Bruyne is always going to be up there as one of the best creators, assisters, and he can get quite a few goals in the process. But I don't trust him to stay fit. I'd rather go for Foden, Erling Haaland, and then, of course, you've got plenty of options like Palmer, Saka, Bruno Fernandes, who will probably score more points in the end. I'm not sure, Joao. I think they should, but I'm not so sure. If you're asking me, I think they won't sign a striker. Andres Pereira, 5.5 million. He was really good 2 years ago, or yeah, I think 2-3 years ago, when he was priced at 4.5 million. A bit underwhelming in the last campaign, but that's a decent shout. Why Arnold too expensive? Like I said, it's not locked in. This is kind of an idea, trying to build a 50-man squad from scratch and seeing, what we think about the prices, but I think with Trent's opening start, the fixtures, I can see him having a really good, beginning of the season. Plenty of assists, bonus points, clean sheets, but it's difficult to see because with Arne Slot, we have no idea of how he's going to start his Liverpool career. I personally think you have a good start and win the majority of the opening games, and I still think Liverpool will be right up there in the table, but not in a title race. But let's actually make some adjustments here. So Let's see if I can actually build something better than this. So let's get rid of Trent for now. I might even get rid of Gavardio if I'm being completely honest. But I'm quite happy with Hall, Fass, maybe Munoz or Gay or Anderson. As for these midfielders, looks pretty decent as well. Let's go for Erling Haaland. I'm also going to go for... I'm looking at 5.5 million forward, and that could be Joao Pedro. And let's see actually how much Manice is. I think he's a bit more expensive. Yeah, he's 6 million. Not too bad, not too bad. Vardy. I'll put Vardy in for now, but I have to say I'm not entirely sure about that one. Might even have to go for someone even cheaper, considering my build. So, let's see. Let's try to finally build a squad. I'm going to go for Gabriel at the back. So 6 million over budget, just to 6 million. I think... You know what? I think for now, I'm going to go for this. I'm going to go without Haaland. It's just the first draft. I'm not saying I'm going to go without him in Gameweek 1 because I always see certain comments that say, well, obviously you're going to bring Haaland back. And, well, maybe I'll bring him back, but it's not a guarantee. But now I'm going for this. It's a first draft. It's definitely very flawed, but... It's not too shabby, I'd say. So, yeah, let's make some adjustments to the starting 11. Emi Martinez in for Jose Sarr. In the back line, I'm going to start Gabriel, that's for sure. I'll bench Wout Fass against Tottenham. I'll also start Eze over Vardy, but I have to say Vardy against Tottenham, still a very good shout. And I'd also bench Nkunku against Man City. So, this would be my current setup. And of course, I know some of you might be thinking, what the hell are you doing? You know what? I think I'll start Vardy over Gavardio for now. Like I said, it's a first draft, very flawed. Feel free to pick holes in it because they certainly are. Captaincy, it would be Salah, especially with no Erling Haaland here. Vice captain, I think Isak would definitely pique my interest. Even Gordon would be a shout at home. And as you can see, triple Newcastle, 2 from Palace, 2 from Leicester as well. So definitely some interesting choices and some flawed picks. Rashford says strictly nostalgic. Yeah, he's entering my thinking. There's plenty of options, I think, at 6.5 to 7 million. Gibbs White, Rashford, and Nkunku. So definitely one to look at. He's probably my favourite for Man United. And a few years ago, he experienced a similar price decrease and had one of his best ever campaigns. I've got a front three of Watkins, Mateta, and Manice. I like it a lot. Mateta's a nice pick. I've gone for Ez in the midfield. And you can go for both. And I think the departure of Elise could be a massive blow to Crystal Palace, but I'd still expect Mateta and Eze to do really well this season. What about Jota? Minutes are a big concern, so I'm not going to go for him right now. What do you think about Elanga? A step below Gibbs White for me, but Elanga has those certain games where he's very explosive and he's completely on it. His pace is electrifying. He's a great dribbler of the ball, but FPL-wise, I think he's very inconsistent. Yeah, I prefer Hall over Burn. I think Hall will be the starting left-back next season, but pre-season will give us a different picture, more information, and I might be wrong about that. So not alone, he was transferred out, but if he got relegated, Aston Villa could buy him back. Right, fair enough, fair enough. No, apologies for that. Yeah, Cameron Archer has experienced some loan spells in the last couple of years, but yeah, it's quite a surprising decision to bring him back like that, but he could be good cover, and I think Archer... I think he's got some decent potential, actually. Look, I've seen a few people mention Chris Wood. It's not a bad shout. It's not a bad shout. I just personally don't trust him. He has some stinkers in there, like he did against City last season. But of course, we saw what he did against Newcastle, and the fixtures are definitely there for him. But I also see a bit of rotation with Awani and the other Forest strikers. Maatsen potentially out of position defender for Villa. Yeah, that is true. Foderingham can actually start over Areola, says Adnan. Possible. Hall or Kelly left back, or Kelly will play centre back. Still Hall for me. Best 6 million defender. I still think Saliba and Gabriel are right up there for me, but Gavardio, considering the second half of the season he had, I mean, it was mind-blowing what he did. Yeah, I think Gavardio just about. Savio and Echeverri, oof, says Dry Hill. Yeah, there's some decent youngsters in there. Yeah. Go about Haaland, live to regret. Mate, it's a first draft. Literally, FPL just went live. I'll be playing around with it and seeing what I can do, but there's a lot of players missing out. or downgrade Gavardio, says Adnan. I'd say maybe downgrade Gavardio, yeah. It's something I'm considering myself. Why no Son? Well, I think Son is maybe not past his best. I mean, that is definitely debatable. But I think there are better options in the midfield. I think Palmer's going to have better GA than Salah. Possibly. I mean, you would argue Palmer's only route is going to be up. He's going to keep improving. But he also got 11 penalties last season, and I don't see that happening again this time round. Foden better than Fernandes? Maybe. But he's also much more expensive. Garnacho and Cuckoo Neto to Rashford, in my opinion, are better than Rashford. With Neto, if he can stay fit. The big problem with him is he can't. He doesn't score many goals either, but his dribbling and assisting is definitely top quality, and hopefully he can have one season at least where he can go without injuries. In Cuckoo, yeah, I'm also on board with that. As for Garnacho, you would argue his trajectory is definitely far higher than Rashford's, who is very up and down. I wouldn't go for Gabriel Jesus personally. I think Havertz will be the starting striker. You've also got Trossard who can play there, and Gabriel Jesus is very injury prone. I'm going to try avoid these injury prone players when possible. If I look at my squad, for example, any players who fit that description, maybe one or two of them. In Cook obviously had a injury-ridden season last time out, but yeah. 3 days, FPL Boss is really making Euros feel like filler. Going for 8 million Team ID, says Keith. Fair enough. Yeah, they did kind of wait a little bit, though. If it wasn't for the Euros, they would have released it 1 or 2 weeks ago, as they typically do. What's the best goalkeeper rotation? I'm going to have to look into this to give you the best answer possible. But I think Emi Martinez and Jose Sa is a decent goalkeeper rotation. Not the best, but I'd say it's pretty decent. Why not Maatsen over Martinez? Maybe the Argentinian bias kicking in. Also, I think there are more defenders to choose from than goalkeepers, but Maatsen was in my thinking when building my FPL.Team preliminary draft. Barkley got over 100 points last season, can be a good shout this year for Villa. Yeah, I think Villa will have rotation though, especially with the Champions League and Premier League. I'm not so sure if Barkley starts every single game, but if he can nail down a spot in this competition, you could be onto something very good there. Yeah, KDB is very cheap at 9.5 considering the quality of player, but he's also injury prone. You know, he's getting 3 or 4 injuries every single year. He's missing some big parts of the season. I think that's why he's been decreased quite significantly. Thoughts on DCL at 6 million with Everton's good fixtures? I think there's a lot of strikers at that price. Moniz, you've got Vardy, and a few others there. But DCL could be one to look at. And in terms of Everton attackers, he's probably the best of a bad bunch. Good to see you, Nick. What's your thinking with Bruno? Surely better options. He had a great end to the season, and I think if you can translate that into this campaign, I can see him having a very good start. But the fixtures aren't great. I will concede that. And like I say, it is a first draft, and this is not locked in. So if we actually go to... Let's refresh this, by the way. And like I said, apologies for the... By the way, what the hell? Oh. Right, okay, that's a bit strange. I'm going to have to look into that. Not even my Stream Deck is working right now. But, yeah. So this is my team right now. If we go into the transfers section... Alright, so let's see if we can make any improvements. If you have any suggestions, be sure to let me know in the live chat. But like I say, in the next couple of days, the plan is to make a first draft video where I put actual thought into it and I can build a much better team than what you see on screen. But yeah, be sure to let me know your thoughts. Smash the like button if you haven't already. Let's get this stream to over 100 likes. We're very close to doing that already. It'd be massively appreciated, and your support throughout the Euros was incredible. We reached 25,000 subscribers very recently, and we're already on course to getting 26k. So let's try to get to that milestone as soon as possible. Check all the links in the description below for my Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and also the Discord server, FPL League, and the code is ON86JX. There is an auto-join link there to make it even easier. My Spotify as well. Leave a 5-star review if you enjoy my content and want to listen to my live streams and videos in podcast format. So, why no Pickford in goal or bench? Everton have great opening fixtures. It's still something I'm considering. I'm not closing the doors to anybody. Maybe. I think Solanke will be quite overlooked. I had him for large parts of last season and he was great for me. It was earlier, the auto-select team, but now is what I've gone for, you know, as a first draft. It's literally very rough, and I know there is some ways to improve it. Foden 9.5 million, 230 points. Bruno 8.5 million, 166 points. True. But also Bruno Fernandes, if you look at the end of the season, he was very impressive. But like I said, there's things to iron out. I don't think Bruno Fernandes is nailed on in my team. Maybe Rashford will offer better value as well, or Garnacho. South Clown resigned from the England job. Even Stevie Wonder could do a better job. Jesus. All right, I disagree with that. I think Southgate did a decent job, but he doesn't have what it takes to win the trophies. So I think he left at the right time. How many big hitters do you think is possible while still having a decent team? That is a great question. So with Haaland involved, I think you're pretty much limited to 2 or 3 big hitters, including him. Without Haaland, you can get to 4 or 5 big hitters, which could include Foden, who isn't priced at 10 million, but he's still 9.5. If they gave us an extra 5 million to add to our budget before matchday 1, who would you take out your team and replace that player with? Oh, well, I'd probably go for Erling Haaland and shuffle around a few positions there. Maybe go for a budget midfielder to afford Haaland and still go for a decent third striker. So, yeah, there's a few things I'd do. Let's adjust this. So I'm going to go for Pickford for now with Jose Sarr. But one thing I want to check, actually, and let's see actually if I can get my Stream Deck to work. Like I said, I don't know why it stopped working all of a sudden. Let's see. Any second now will be great. Okay, the Stream Deck apparently isn't going to work today. All right, and now that's causing issues with my network. That's fantastic. Anyway, let's see if I can get this to work now. All right, if we go to the FDR, okay, that worked. Hallelujah. Let's check Wolves' rotation with Everton, which will be of interest, I think. So in Gameweek 1, not great, but you could start Pickford at home to Brighton. In Gameweek 2, both of them were difficult games, but you'd probably go for Jose Sarr against Chelsea. Gameweek 3, both of them were decent fixtures, but you'd probably go for Pickford against Bournemouth. Gameweek 4, tough one. I think Jose Sarr gets the edge there. Gameweek 5, not great, but maybe you go for Pickford against Leicester. And Gameweek 6, you go for Pickford again. But yes, decent rotation. I'd argue Aston Villa's fixtures complement Wolves' better than Everton's do. But yeah, overall, I think going for Pickford could be a solid shout. And I am considering it myself here. So Pickford and Jose Sarr in goal is a possibility. Gvardiol might make way, and I might even go for a Liverpool defender in the end. It could be Trent, it could be someone a bit cheaper, but yeah, it's something I've got in mind. And even Alisson, I have to say, I know he's expensive, but Alisson could be a shout. Mikalenko, by the way, 4.5 million. Could be decent value in that Everton defence. Tarkovsky is 5 million. Branthwaite as well, 5 million. Yeah, Mikalenko is actually appealing to me a little bit. I think what I could end up doing here is go for Alisson. Go for Alisson here in goal. Go for Mikalenko to cover that Everton defence. And then, yeah, we've got 1 million left in the bank. I think we can make some improvements. That could be Fernandes to Foden, as some of you rightfully mentioned. At least have a bit of City coverage. And in terms of getting Haaland back, it would require a reshuffle of this entire squad. But it does require some sacrifices with that 50 million price tag, which is great to see. Pickford Henderson is a good rotation. Yep, you could be onto something there. Let's actually have a look now using the Fantasy Football Hub FDR. So Everton and Crystal Palace. Yeah, I think that looks very appealing, actually. So I think Game Week 1 is tough. You could go for either one of them. Game Week 2, you'd go for Henderson. Game Week 3, Pickford. For Game Week 4, you'd go for Henderson. For Game Week 5 is also a bit close, but you'd probably go for Pickford. Game Week 6, you would go for Pickford again. Yeah, that's actually very good rotation. So yeah, to the answer to that question, so far it seems like the best affordable goalkeeper rotation is Henderson and Pickford. Will goalkeepers get many save points? Depends on which goalkeeper we're talking about. I think Pickford will. David Raya, for example, won't, unless Arsenal just decrease dramatically and just fall off a cliff defensively. But yeah, I'd say Pickford would be right up there for saves. I'd also look at Jose Sarr, the newly promoted clubs as well in particular. 50k subs before the season ends. Let's make it happen. It would be incredible. It would require double the growth of what I've ever done. But yeah, I think 30k by the end of the year will be an ambitious target. But with UCL Fantasy, I think it's certainly possible. I think Cancelo might come back into City's team. I disagree. You might be right, and we can talk about this over the next few months, but I personally don't think that'll be the case. Jamie Vardy's like Ronaldo nowadays, only pens. Don't take it out on me. Look, Ronaldo deserves respect. He's one of the best players ever, but I think it's fair to say Ronaldo's past it, and of course, it's so difficult to be at a high level at that age, and the same will be with Vardy as well. Opinion about Wood or Mateta? I think Mateta is generally the better player in FPL. So from Gameweek 1 to 38, he's the one I'd bank on. But for the start of the season, I'd give the edge to Chris Wood based on fixtures. Not by much, though. And that might be a very short-term way of thinking about it. Muric just signed with Ipswich. Great choice for a goalkeeper. Yeah. Muric was incredible, by the way, for Burnley at the end of last season. He came in for Trafford and he made so many saves. He got some big hauls, even when Burnley conceded 2 or 3 goals in the game. So that's a great shout, Nick. Yeah, Forest have very good fixtures. I might go for 1 or 2 of their players. I think 1 is probably what I'd end up going for, and that'd be in the midfield. What's your early thoughts on chip strategy? Could free hit be used in a single game week and use 5 free transfer for blanks and game weeks? I'll be honest, of course, you're asking for early thoughts, but I haven't given much thought to it, if I'm being completely honest. In terms of game weeks and the best time to use each individual chip, it's alien at the moment. We have no idea. But yeah, with the free hit and the wild card, you can use the chips and then still have 5 free transfers to use in the following game week, which is something completely different. And I think it will reward some people who are patient and do long-term planning. Salah or Haaland? I'd say Salah to start the season. Based on fixtures, though. Standard says I'm going about Haaland 100%. Yeah, of course, we're getting different opinions. Some people say he's essential. Why are you not going for him? And then others, of course, like yourself, are saying the opposite. If Leicester's defence looks good for the first 5 fixtures, they could be great value for the great run they have from Gameweek 5 to 10. Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm only going for Wout fast because of the price tag. And he's a 5th defender, he'll sit on my bench, and that's pretty much it. But as you say, if they have a good start for their positive fixture run, he could be a decent option to bring in. 34, 43, or just 9. Not sure what you mean there, but I'm probably just going blank. My team name is La Scaloneta. Yes, you can change your team name. In FPL, you can change it whenever. It's not like UCL Fantasy or the World Cup and Euros where once match day 1 begins, you're locked in with that team for the rest of the competition. For FPL, you can change it as many times as you want. Not a fan of goalkeeper rotation. Yeah, that's true. Happens so many times that goalkeepers with worse fixtures actually have save points and score more than the goalkeeper with better fixtures. No, you're completely spot on, and penalty saves are a big thing. As you mentioned with Areola, he was a thorn in my side last season. Guardiola's going to bench Foden until Gameweek 5, in my opinion. It's risky. Yeah, I know. It was just like a suggestion, what I could do with the extra 1 million. I still think Foden will come in quite early, but maybe not Gameweek 1. I remember watching a vid and a CR7 fan commented Ronaldo the GOAT, and a Messi fan said, there's Ronaldo, and the CR7 replied with Pessi Ramos finished. Yeah, they definitely need help. Just appreciate both players. You've got your preferences. I've got my one. Some people get offended by it, but it's just literally taste in football. Sanchez and Sells is pretty solid. Yeah, that's another good one. I'm not sure if Sanchez will start, though, because Petrovic had a very impressive end. But we'll see what Maresca does now with the new Chelsea manager now. We have no idea what he prefers, and pre-season could give us some answers and hopefully not more questions. Yeah, Dalla would be my favourite way of covering Man United defensively. Then it'd be Onana. Petrovic is going to be nailed on for Chelsea, so Southampton is finished. Possibly. Yeah, rotating defenders is something that I'm always considering. I like to have a bit of squad depth, but Wout Fast can still come in from Gameweeks 5 to 10, for example. And I think most weeks I'd like to play a 3-5-2 or 3-4-3, depending on what my final structure is. And then on the odd occasion, yeah, I'd go for a back four, but I don't see myself starting 5 defenders, for example. So there will be an element of rotation with my defenders, even with Wout Faes, who is a 4 million option for a newly promoted club. Do you think I need a full bench? Not necessarily strong picks, but ones that play. I'd say so. It's always good to have that insurance policy just in case. Palmer is tempting me. I mean, with what he did last season, in the Euros final as well, it's not really a big surprise, but look, I'm not trying to put people off or discredit what Palmer did, but it's worth mentioning he had 11 penalties last season. I don't think he'll score 20 goals again in the next campaign. He might well do and score most from open play, and that's fair enough, but I personally think there will be a slight reduction in his FPL output. How to change the team name? I think the way you change it is by going to your Premier League profile. I'll try to, because I don't know it off by heart right now, to be honest with you. So just give me a second. Oh yeah, if you go to the browser, and I think preferably it'll be on a laptop, but you can do it on your phone as well. Just go on a browser, like Safari, Google Chrome, whatever. And once you're on the homepage for FPL, you see your team. On the right-hand side, it will say My Team's Kit. Click on Design Your Kit. And once you do, it will say Team Details, and the very first box will be your team name. There you can change it, and then once you put your team name, at the bottom, click Update Details, and your new team name will be saved. So it's very simple. Let me know if you're able to do it. And we're very close to 100 likes. Let's be sure to get to that by the end of the stream. It'd be massively appreciated. The live chat has been very busy today, and I do appreciate it. And in Euros Fantasy, of course, we had great turnouts. We're hoping to replicate that in the Premier League next season as well. The thing is, Haaland costs 6 million plus more than any other forward, but doesn't provide 6 million worth of value. I've got Arsenal defence, City defence, Salah, 8 forwards, and no weak forwards in there. Yeah, look, you make good points. I think there's a debate to be had with that price tag. The thing with Haaland, though, is I still think his ownership will be very high. 60% at the very least. In certain game weeks, like when City face Ipswich, it's going to be tough. But in terms of your balance, it looks incredible the way you put it. And just bear in mind, with 8 forwards, you have to bench one of them every single week. And it could lead to benching dilemmas, also points being lost on your bench. But you also have that possibility of having more squad depth. If someone misses out on your starting 11, you've got that coverage on your bench there as well. Nico Gonzalez could have scored a hat-trick in like 15 minutes against Colombia. I think he played well, though, when he came on. I don't rate him as a player. I think he's quite average, to be honest, but I think he offers different qualities to the Argentina team, mainly his aerial threat. He won so many duels when he came on. He's very quick and he makes great runs. So, yeah, you can never really doubt his commitment, his work rate, and also those qualities I just mentioned, but his finishing is poor. I think he was quite unlucky with the header, which went just across goal, because that was kind of more of a passing header. And if Lautaro Martinez was there on the pitch instead of Alvarez, you could have seen that tapped in as well. And he scored a goal, and it was ruled out for offside, which was the right decision, so that was a shame. I think Haaland will definitely be in for Gameweek 1 and 2 for captaincy versus Ipswich, and then could downgrade him to Watkins, Gameweek 3, and upgrade one of my midfielders. Yeah, that's a good shout. Based on fixtures, that looks like the best way to tackle it, but of course, with the new rules and having 5 free transfers by rolling them, I think some people will also want to have that luxury of not making transfers week on week and booking them in from the beginning. But I have to say, it's a good strategy. I think I'd go for Akanji, but both of them are solid options. In different points of the season, Akanji's nailed on, and it seems like he's never benched, and then it's the same for Ake, who can play left back and centre back. How do I check the point system? You have to go to the rules section, and all the points will be laid out for you. But if you played UCL Fantasy or Euro Fantasy, it's identical. There is no Player of the Match award, but players can get 3 bonus points, 2, and even 1 bonus point as well, based on their performances and the bonus point system in place. Serbia manager earns more than De La Fuente in a year. Pixie is a fraud. Yeah, I mean, look, De La Fuente came through the ranks, as in he was the manager of the under-20s, and I think more national teams are doing that now. You saw England do it with Southgate, Argentina with Scaloni, and I think it's going to be a common practice now. Hi, Dylan. Thoughts on Jensen from Brentford? Always seems to do well. At the start of the season, looking at his record, could be decent at 5.5 million. Also, thoughts on Bowen? Yeah, Jensen is an underrated option. Good player. He might not be great for the rest of the season, but at 5.5 million to kick things off, it's not too shabby. Now, my issue with Brentford is their first 2 home games are great, but you look at some of the other games like City and Liverpool and Tottenham in the opening 5, it looks very tough. Thank you, Matthew. Thanks, mate. Got it. Deserve a sub and a like. Thank you very much, and good luck for next season in FPL. Pass is a great shout. Look out for Keane if Branthwaite leaves. Yeah, and Branthwaite is heavily linked to other clubs, but I think it's going to take a massive bid. The reports indicate that 80 million or more needs to be spent for Everton to offload him. I just think Munoz has more attacking potential. He did very well in Copa America and also for Palace when he joined. But yeah, Anderson is probably better for ball recoveries. Not ball recoveries, I'm talking about Euro Fantasy too much. He's better for bonus points, I think. So that's obviously a shout. He probably will offer better value as well. Aren't you worried about not having an Arsenal attacker? You can't have them all, unfortunately. And if I go for an Arsenal attacker, you could also say where's Haaland? And if, you know, I have Haaland, no Heung-min Son, no Palmer, it's just impossible to cover them all. And I think this season will be even tougher than most based on the increase in price changes. But yeah, I think it's a welcome challenge. I'm not even scared of Gameweek 2 because I have Foden and Joao Pedro can be benched often, but is also a great budget pick with possible penalties. Yeah, of course, once again, you can't have them all, right? But I just think in certain game weeks like 2, you might not be scared of Haaland, but he can still deliver, go ballistic. He's captained by so many people with over 200% effective ownership, and I want to say he ruins your season, but it makes it much more difficult. I had Gvardiol before, and I might still bring him back in. They've got some decent fixtures in my opinion, but the FDR from Fantasy Football Hub has them at the bottom 3, I believe, in terms of the opening 6 games. Palmer or Saka? I'd probably say Palmer just about, based on fixtures. I don't like Arsenal's running for the first 5 to 7 game weeks. If Dan Burn can remain nailed on, then yes, but there is a possibility he loses his spot. I'd rather go for Lewis Hall right now. I think he's going to be the starting left back. Barco at 4 million, potential breakthrough defender, true. He can play left back, left wing back, also a bit higher up the pitch, but I'd expect Estupinian to be first choice still, but that's a great shout. I started Dundee FC career mode in FC24. I gave myself a 1 billion budget and I only spent 627 million only. Signed a Kanji and he scored a hat-trick all from corners. Yeah, that's the AFC for you. I saw some weird rumours about next year's FIFA. I'm not even sure what they're doing, but hopefully they're incorrect. One of the most underrated or not talked about as much is the new striker Wolves have signed. I think he is Danish, not sure his name now. No, look, there's going to be a lot of new signings that will make a difference, and over the next few weeks I'm going to be doing more research and finding the best players possible like I did for the Euros, and everything will be covered on this channel. Is Hall starting? I think he will, but it's not a locked-in thing for me. I don't think he's nailed on. I think Haaland is a must-have because with his price tag, if he is not good, 2 transfers can improve your team a lot, but if he actually scores well, it's hard to get him without at least 3 transfers. I see what you're saying. You'd rather start the season with him, as someone else mentioned earlier. So for the first 2 game weeks, great fixtures for City, especially in game week 2 anyway. And then you can move on to Watkins, and that's where Villa's fixtures start turning for the better from game week 3. So that could also work very well. Any Forest assets worth owning? Great fixtures to start, Elanga or Gibbs White. I'd go for Gibbs White. Chris Wood up front would be another one, as rightfully mentioned by viewers. Apart from that, maybe you could look at somebody else. I mean, I don't want to force it in, to be honest. I think that's probably the 2, and also Chris Wood I'd look at. Nobody else, in my opinion. Ruben Dias a fix. I wouldn't go for Ruben Dias personally. And people always say he's nailed on, but there are certain parts of the season where he is benched, and I don't think any City defender will start every single game. His name is Strand Larsen, and he's Norwegian, so Southampton is finished. Is Vardy good, says Aram. If he can be nailed on, then yes. I don't think he'll start every single game, though. He's in my draft at the moment, and he's got a good record against Big 6 clubs, and I think Leicester can be, maybe not a surprise package, because we all know what they can do, but they can be one of the best newly promoted teams in time. But yeah, I think with Vardy, it's a difficult one to assess right now. Do you think Doku is first choice over Grealish? Yeah, I think so. Haaland or Foden and spread the funds? I'd say Haaland still. Nkuku will start? I think so, yeah. Thoughts on Matoma, says Ethan. Yeah, I mean, if we actually cast our minds back a year, he was in so many people's teams, including my one. He had a good start. Unfortunately, got that injury quite early on. But yeah, with Mitoma, I'd rather go for Joao Pedro up front to cover Brighton offensively. But Mitoma can't be overlooked. He's a quality player on his day. And yeah, I think he could be a decent shout. The fixtures aren't great, though. I kind of want to gamble a bit with Xerxes. Yeah, I've seen one or two people mention him. And I don't think he'll start from the get-go, or at least start every single game, which is what you'd preferably want. But I think sometimes these risks can be rewarded. Luis Diaz is 5 million less than Salah. Not for me, Ricardo. It's a great question, but I just think Salah offers the guarantee of minutes, and also he's far more consistent in terms of goals and assists compared to Diaz. Is Ward less the goalkeeper will start? He only costs 4 million. I'm not sure if that will be the case, to be quite honest with you. And I remember the last time we had Ward in FPL, it wasn't great, let's put it that way. But yeah, for Leicester, I think the best way to cover them defensively would be Wout Fass. He's nailed on, and there's no concerns about that whatsoever. He can get the odd goal here and there. Even for Belgium, he's got a few assists for them in only a handful of games in his international career. But if we look at Leicester and their starting goalkeeper last season, give me a second. So, yeah, I'm not entirely sure about that, about Ward being the starting goalkeeper. Yeah, I don't think that'll be the case. I had to double check that just to be sure. But of course, if there are any Leicester fans in the chat, be sure to let me know if I'm wrong about my assumption and the answer to that question. The developers at EA Sports are on weed and cocaine. I mean, I just think, well, I'd probably just rather keep my opinions to myself there. Dylan, can you explain, if I start without Haaland and he starts great, why would I destroy my team to go get him in? Continue and accept the missed opportunity. Well, that's what someone else mentioned earlier as a reason why we should go for Haaland from the get-go. But look, even last season where Haaland was cheaper, he still had a good season. People went against him for large parts of the campaign and still did very well. So, yeah, of course, it's always easier said than done, right? Before the season starts, 1 month away from Gameweek 1, we can just say, well, if Haaland starts great, we can just continue our game and keep pushing on. But there is sometimes that kind of fear. Once you see that big haul, you immediately buy that player back. You kind of undo your team a little bit, take a -4 hit, or use 2 free transfers, up to 5 now at this stage, and you kind of change things up a little bit and rip your team apart. But yeah, I think ripping your team apart isn't really something I recommend in general, even for a Haaland. Only in very specific circumstances would I do that in a live stream. Trippier or Hall? I'd say Hall based on value. If money is no issue for you, then of course Trippier will have the bonus points. He's nailed on, set pieces, you name it, bonus points. But I think Hall will be better for most people. I know that pitch side, but Wout Fass is a 4 million defender. He offers decent value. Whenever you need him, which will be on the odd occasion, I think he can be a good option from time to time. Best 7.5 million forward. Right. I mean, Gakpo has crossed my mind, to be fair. But I'd probably say Solanke. Now, that will probably change as I do more research and also as I make more content. Best 6.5 million midfielder. By the way, the lights just come out. Don't know what's happened there. Best 6.5 million midfielder. I'd probably say Nkuku would be my current shout. As for best 4.5 million defender, Joachim Andersen is very appealing to me, and Lewis Hall. One of those two. So, if you haven't already, by the way, smash the like button and subscribe for new. We have almost 200 people watching. Thank you very much for all your support. And let's try to get this stream to over 100 likes and also keep on pushing towards 26,000 subscribers. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and check all the other links in the description below. My Discord server, the FPL League, Drafthound. The league code is also very simple, ON86JX, I believe. And there is a link in the description below. Very easy to join. And check out my Spotify as well. I'll be streaming for a little while longer and talking about my team, trying to lock in one draft at least, because I have to say, the more I think about it, the more holes I pick out, and I just keep chopping and changing things. I've never been this indecisive when it comes to a first draft before in FPL, but it has been the case this time round. But just give me a second whilst I fix some lighting issues. We had some laptop issues earlier, which I think have now been fixed. I don't want to jinx anything though. I'll be right back. Make sure not to miss it and hit the notification bell so you never miss a single upload or live stream. So I am back. Apologies for that. Like I said, I was fixing the lighting. It seems like we had a few issues in this live stream today, but all behind us, hopefully. Yeah, Leicester goalkeeper is Hermansen, Schmeichel's heir, says Emmanuel. Exactly that. He was starting all the games last season, and with Ward, I mean, we saw what he did in the Premier League before that, so yeah. Lucas Bergval is one to watch, says Benjamin. Joe Hart is retired last season, was his last. I'll miss him, says Southampton is finished. Ah, so an Englishman you finally like. Saka or Foden, very tough. I'd give the edge to Foden. I still think City have a better fixture run than Arsenal, even though Fantasy Football Hub, for example, have Arsenal ranked higher. I don't share that opinion. Who's going to start, Burn or Hall? I think it'll be Hall. Is Gakpo or Nunez a great pick? I wouldn't say they're great picks, but my preference would be Gakpo. I have to say, though, both of them... I mean, well, if we look at it, Gakpo was eliminated in the semi-finals. Darwin Nunez, of course, did the third place playoff. I think they'll come back at a similar time. Same with Diogo Jota. But there's just so much rotation going on there, and we don't know what Arne Slot prefers as the definitive starting 11. Top 3 budget forwards. I would say Chris Wood, Muniz, and I would also go for Joao Pedro. My team is balanced, but no Haaland. What are we saying, Haaland or nah? Well, that's the big debate, isn't it? And if you've got a 50-man squad you're happy with no Haaland, then so be it. But there's always going to be a caveat. There's going to be, you know, the odd occasion, maybe Gameweek 2, for example, where it goes against you and, you know, you're really kind of regretting that decision. But ultimately, there's always going to be that sort of week when you go against this caliber of player, but it can pay off in the long run. We saw it last season. What do you look at defenders in FPL? Well, clean sheet potential and also attacking threat. And that's why I prefer that aspect of Euro Fantasy and UCL, even the World Cup, where you've got the ball recoveries and it makes it more difficult when making a final decision or transfer. But in FPL, unfortunately, you look at who you think has the best fixtures, clean sheet potential, and attacking threat. KDB is a bad pick. I'm not sure if he's a bad pick, but he's not someone you can trust in the long term to stay fit. I have KDB, Bruno, Saka, Palmer, Eze, Watkins, Isak. Is the strategy just to leave them for 5 to 6 weeks, proven assets, and then use 5 transfers to get some hidden gems in good? I think that's fairly sound. With this new 5 transfers thing, which I think some people, well, most people I think are in favour of, but I don't know. I mean, I've kind of got a few concerns about that myself. But with that in mind, I think it can really pay off with what you've gone for. Now, ultimately, with Erling Haaland, for example, yeah, I mean, you're not going for him, but you've got a very balanced attack. You've got a lot of good options there. But how many is that? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm not sure your 8th attacker is, but if you have a benchable player, so to speak, in the forward line or midfield, that's fine. You won't have too many benching dilemmas, so to speak. But yeah, I think what you say is sound. I don't think it's locked in, though, and it's not something that I'd say you have to do personally, because ultimately, certain players you mentioned, like Isak and KDB, are fairly injury prone, unfortunately, even Eze. So you might just be using those transfers earlier than expected. Only create FPL already to have a low ID number, but people shouldn't start overthinking already, in my opinion. Good luck, Dylan, for another season. Happy to see your progress as a YouTuber. Thank you very much, Diogo. I completely agree about the FPL ID. It's not too relevant or important. I think mine's quite low, so to speak. It's probably the lowest I've ever had, but it's not something I'm going to shout about or make a frame about. I bet Tonali is going to score in Gameweek 1, pun intended. Thorsten van der Ven, only 4.5 million. Yeah, it's just with Spurs, I don't trust them defensively, but 4.5 million for a solid defender like Van der Ven, if he can stay fit, I think is pretty decent value. I am preferring Lewis Hall though, and also Joachim Andersen from Crystal Palace. Those two stand out for me. But yeah, maybe instead of Mikalenko, for example, I can go for Mickey van der Ven. I just feel Everton have better fixtures to start the season. New bonus point system is mainly focused on forwards, as we should go for decent defenders, then go for the premium defenders. Yeah, I mean, I think the bonus point system needed some changes, and some of them have been quite good, but I think more is needed, and defenders should be rewarded more for their actions. I think one of the Saudi clubs is going to sign KDB. Eventually, that could be the case. I'm not sure if that'll happen now, though. Andy says I'm going without Salah and Haaland. We'll rely on Palmer, Foden, Watkins, and Isak. I mean, look, it's good to see some variety and people going for different approaches, and we'll wait and see which scores the most points, but I don't think there's a clear standout. The starting goalkeeper for Palace is Dean Henderson. Cody Gakpo, good shout. I think so. Very low ownership as well, if I'm not mistaken. Let's actually check what his ownership is saying. So, Cody Gakpo is owned by 10.3% of the game. Okay, a bit higher than I expected, to be honest with you, but yeah, Cody Gakpo. The thing I've said about all these Liverpool attackers bar Salah is rotation. We don't know who Arne Slot prefers, what his definitive best 11 is, so apart from Salah, it's very difficult to judge yet. I like another English player, and all I need to say is corner taken quickly. Yeah, Trent Alexander-Arnold. And I can't forget about Bellegoal. Yeah, I don't think he had a great Euros tournament, but of course, still up there for the Ballon d'Or race. But I think Rodri has the edge now. I'm going for top 10k this season. Last season I fell just short, but this season I'll be even more focused. Yeah, Beardy, you had a great season though. I remember you telling me about your progress, and good luck. Hopefully you can get to that, and possibly even higher. That is still possible as well. Not really, Vuk. I don't think Vardy will start every single game, and he's kind of just like a random pick, so to speak, in the forward line. He could be a good option if nailed on, but that isn't something I can really bank on. So let's make some changes to the squad. Once again, I have to stress, it is not locked in. So Chris Wood, even though I was literally just dissing him not so long ago, could make way here. Also, let's see, Phil Foden. Got 9 million left here, and I could go for Odegaard as one particular example. Yeah, it doesn't look too shabby, actually. I've got 0.5 million left in the bank. I can make some upgrades in certain positions. I've got Alisson in goal to cover Liverpool defensively. I've got Salah. There's no Erling Haaland, of course. I am well aware of that. I've also got 8 attackers, so there could be some benching dilemmas from time to time. But overall, I have to say I do like the look of this squad. It's not great, of course. The more I think about it, the more I'm going to pick out holes. But yeah, I think it's not too bad of a start, I'd say. I mean, maybe people will disagree, and that's fair enough. For 5 million as well, I mean, I could go for Branthwaite, but yeah, I don't really see much of a difference between him and Mikalenko. You could say the same about Munoz compared to Gay or even Joachim Andersen. But yeah, 5 million. I could even find a way to get Gavardio in. I mean, no City coverage whatsoever is a bit mad, I'm not going to lie. That's something else I need to think about. But yeah, overall, it's looking pretty decent. Let's see what I can do here if I go for Gavardio. And then we'll go for Pickford for now. But yeah, no Liverpool defensive coverage. 0.5 million over the bank. And there I could just do Munoz to Joachim Andersen. But of course, that could change. So yeah, for now, I'm going to go for this setup. And then, yeah, you can just let me know your thoughts. I'd be surprised if this was quite template, but maybe it is. So let's see what we can do here. I've got Gavardio and Nkunku on my bench. Yeah, Pickford in goal, Gabriel, Hall, Anderson. Yeah, there's definitely some problems with this. But Chris Wood against Bournemouth at home to start things off. Not too shabby. You're welcome, Beardy. How can Liverpool's bench any of the Gakpo, Nunez, Diaz? They're all fantastic and young. Is there a chance Salah gets reduced minutes, like 75 average? Well, there is a chance, but Salah will still start the vast majority of games. And Gakpo is best on the left-hand side. Same with Luis Diaz. Darwin Nunez, of course, is a striker. But if you're going to play all three of them at the same time, you're going to be playing one of them out of position. And I think Diaz would be the most likely to be shifted to the right. But he's best on the left, cutting in. He's a great dribbler, probably the best of the three. I just don't see all three of them starting at the same time right now. I remember watching Georgia FIFA. He was making a... Oh, right, it's a YouTuber. He's making a rating your saves, and he reviewed a guy created a club and half of players were below 30 rating, and that guy lost to Al Ittihad 8-0. Don't know how you can manage that, to be fair. Buy Joao Pedro for a 5.5 million attacker? Possibly. Joao Pedro was kind of already highlighted in my squad earlier on. So yeah, that could be something else to look at. But I have to say, there's quite a lot of budget strikers, probably more than last season. Maybe exaggerating, but it's something that I've kind of felt. All right, let's see what else we have. Carvajal should win the Ballon d'Or. I mean, he's had a great season. Man of the match in the Champions League final is a big shout, but I think Rodri deserves it. Salah to Palmer, Foden, and upgrade your defence. Yeah, possibly. But I really like Salah, to be fair, in the opening fixtures. Hey Dylan, prediction price for Euro and De Ligt for Man United. Not sure about how close De Ligt is to being done. I've seen a lot of links, but I'd assume De Ligt will be 5 million at Man United, just like Dalot and Maguire. Yeah, I'm not too sure about Euro either, to be honest. I'll try to give you a prediction, but wouldn't be able to tell you. 4.5 million, I'd say. 4.5 for Euro, 5 million for De Ligt. As for Xerxes, I mean, what is his actual price? I think he's already in the game now. So yeah, 7 million. Interesting. Yeah, I'll stick with that as my price predictions for those players. Mateta for me. Yeah, Mateta, look, I've got Eze at the moment, but Mateta is still a great shout, and he was a revelation last season, and he also had that massive haul where he got, what was it, 26, 29 points, something ridiculous. I was very happy to own him for that. A bit regretful that I didn't captain him, but, I mean, that would have been something else entirely. Let's see what... Okay, Robert of Arsenal defender, better fixtures and better attacking threat. Yeah, possibly. Also, Trent, despite being more expensive, is another one I'm thinking about. I still think Arsenal have the better defence, but you never know. If Arne Slot, there could be an improvement in that position, and Robertson could be a great shout. So yeah, I think that's a very good suggestion. Don't know about the price for Euro and De Ligt, but one thing I know that is both of them will flop, especially Euro rejected Real Madrid. Well, you never know. United have made some good signings over the years, Bruno Fernandes being one of them. Yeah, I think... Let's wait and see first. Haaland is incredibly expensive, and I think Mateta's a great shout as a replacement. Yeah, he certainly is. I was asked earlier about the best 7.5 million forward, and I said Solanke. But yeah, I think to start the season, I'd probably say Mateta edges it based on fixtures. Yeah, good shout, Harry. Leif Davis seems to be a good differential, only 4.5 million. It's just, I don't trust Ipswich Town necessarily. That's my big problem, but you could be onto something, and hopefully you are. Smith Rowe being linked heavily to Fulham and is 5.5 million. Yeah, if he moves, same with Nketiah, by the way. These sorts of players can really offer game-breaking value. Maybe not to the extent of Cole Palmer, but they could actually get a lot of goal contributions this season. Carvajal won the Euros, UCL, La Liga and Supercopa. Yeah, he did. But for me, it's also beyond trophies. It's a mixture of trophies, you know, what you've contributed to those wins, and the player, you know, the level of consistency throughout the year, who's been the best. And I think Rodri personally has been. I think in the Euros, he did win the player of the tournament, and that's fair enough. I probably would have given it to Olmo, but yeah, Rodri was still right up there. What should we look for in defenders? I mentioned this earlier, Ricardo. So it's a mixture of fixtures, clean sheet potential, and attacking threat. When is Tony an option? I mean, he's decent for the first two home games, but you've got Tottenham, Liverpool, and City sprinkled in between, so it's not great. I'd rather go for Mbeumo in the midfield. He's another one I'm looking at. And if Tony leaves Brentford, you could have Mbeumo on penalties as a 7 million midfielder out of position playing up front. How can you make a private league? I think it's fairly simple. You go to the league section and there should be an option there just to create one. Yeah, literally, if you go to leagues and cups on your browser, then you can just click create and join new leagues, and you can just make them private as well. So I think it's very simple. Is Lukaku back? No, he isn't. No, I'm fairly sure he's not. And either way, Lukaku, let's not talk about him, mate, because after the Euros, he was a disaster. I personally think Lukaku will be shipped out on loan again. And if Chelsea can find a way to negotiate a deal and maybe sell him for a lot less money, of course, but if they can find something they're happy with, I just don't see Lukaku staying at Chelsea. It'll be Jackson being the main striker next season, unless Chelsea sign another striker. Yeah, I think Solanke is a good option. I think I mentioned him as the best 7.5 million forward, but you could argue Mateta is slightly better. I see Ipswich conceding 85 to 100 goals. I'm not sure about... I mean, maybe you're right, but I don't think it'll be that many. If I'm looking at all the teams right now, they would be my favourites to be relegated, but hopefully we get a pleasant surprise. Yeah, Cody Gakpo I've been asked about a few times. He had a good Euros tournament, good end to the season, playing as a left winger. I think he'll be first choice for Liverpool, but I also don't expect him to start every single game, especially with the Champions League also being a factor for Liverpool next season. It's difficult to balance that and the Premier League. But yeah, Gakpo would be my preference over Diaz and Darwin, that's for sure. But Salah for me is levels above all of them. Palmer, Foden or Odegaard? Well, if money is no issue, I'd say Palmer. Yeah, Bacon, thank you very much. What about Kamada? Will you replace Elise? Yeah, Kamada, another good shout, but Eze would be my top pick there. And then Mateta from Crystal Palace. But yeah, Kamada, he's had a decent career, to be fair to him. I don't think he'll be to the same level as Elise, but yeah, I think he would be a decent shout. Not entirely sure if he'll start every game, though, and the same goes for a lot of these signings. For example, I think Xerxes will eventually become nailed on, but not to begin with. I think he'll be eased into the Premier League, a bit like Haaland was last season. Yeah, Morgan Rogers could be bargain, playing our position as a midfielder, as a forward. True. And I'm looking at a budget forward or midfielder, so that could actually work for me as well. That's a good suggestion, and he's been mentioned a few times in the stream. Isn't KDB an amazing pick for at least the first 5? No UCL, no cup, start of the season. When healthy, KDB is ridiculous. Debatable, because I think KDB does grow into the tournament sometimes, so he can have a really good end to the season. But you make some good points. You know, the fact there's no other competition, just the Premier League, he should start all of the games, but he can still pick up an injury. Look what happened last season when he got injured in Gameweek 1 against Burnley. I mean, with Kevin De Bruyne, I'll be honest, if I had to make a prediction, I don't think he starts the first 5 game weeks. Not all 5 of them. I think he starts 3 or 4. But that's, maybe I'm wrong. I might be completely off the ballpark, but he's not someone I can really trust in terms of minutes and staying fit. So that's an extensive discussion. I built a sort of first draft here today. FPL has gone live, over 2 hours ago now. I've been streaming for almost 2 hours. Yeah, I'll be live for a few minutes more answering your questions, but yeah, just stay tuned to this channel because I will be making a dedicated first draft video, and I'll most likely make quite a few changes to what you see on screen. Yeah, I just mentioned Xerxes. I think he's not going to start the season. It'll be a bit like Haaland, where he's eased into the Premier League and he'll be a substitute, making an impact off the bench. So look, I might also be off the ballpark there, and I could get that wrong, but I wouldn't expect him to start every single game. Not yet, anyway. No C players, not in this draft right now, but that could easily change. Erling Haaland is still on the agenda. Phil Foden in the midfield, Gavardio at the back. Even Ortega in goal, but with that Edison situation, it's becoming less clear. I think Maatsen is a good option, yeah. I think he's the best way to cover Aston Villa defensively. But as a left back, I mean, you still got Luca Dean and Alex Moreno. One of them will likely be sold, that is true, but with the Champions League as well, you could see the certain occasion where, and look, the Champions League isn't going to be a factor until September, so there's still a long way to go. But we could see Maatsen save for the Champions League and be benched in the Premier League game just a few days beforehand. So that's something I've also got in the back of my mind. Need a defender for 5.5 million or less. Have Saliba, Konsa, Anderson, and a 4 million defender. Any suggestions? I like Lewis Hall to start the season. And I also like Joachim Andersen. Those would be 2 of my favourite ones. Now, you could also go, based on fixtures, on a Branthwaite, Tarkowski, or Mikalenko to cover Everton defensively. So one of those would be my top picks. Spurs have a tricky few fixtures, but I'll end up getting Pedro or Van de Ven. Yeah, that's fair. The fixtures do put me off, and I want to see an improvement defensively before investing, but Borro, bonus points and attacking threat he possesses in abundance, and Van de Ven is only 4.5 million. What two singers are the best nowadays, Dylan? In my opinion, The Weeknd and Ava Max. I'm kind of old school, to be honest. So, I mean, my favorite kind of music would be from previous decades and stuff. I don't really like what's going on right now, to be completely transparent. So I'd probably struggle to find the best singers. I think it just depends on genre, because there are still some good artists out there, but I think the level of music has gone down. Yeah, Wasif, I covered that earlier. For me, I don't trust Ipswich defensively. They've got some very tough fixtures as well. So, you know, he might get a lot of assists and be like Stuart Dallas from a few years ago. But yeah, I'm probably going to go for more reliable defenders in terms of clean sheet potential. I'm just not really on board yet. That might change, and in terms of newly promoted clubs, he's one of the more enticing options, so to speak, in Davis, but I'm not sure I'll go there. Thanks, mate. Think I'll go for Branthwaite. Yeah, I think Branthwaite, I mean, you saw what he did towards the end of the last season, and he had a very good season. Will he stay at Everton? That's a big question, but if he does, good fixtures, a bit of attacking potential, bonus points, clean sheets, they're all possible. The thing is with Saka, he's a lot more expensive, and I'm already struggling in terms of finding the balance in a 50-man squad I'm very happy with. This is a very rough first draft. Things will definitely change. But I think in terms of value, I'd rather go for Odegaard. Now, if budget's no issue, fair enough. Saka's more consistent in terms of GA, but it's going to be a big decision to make. New to your channel, Dylan. Top content. Thank you very much, Bacon. I'm going for Havertz over Watkins so I can fund Saka. Double up in Arsenal attack. I mean, I like it. There are some tough fixtures in there, but Saka and Havertz is a nice combination. Yeah, Havertz could definitely work out. He had a great end to the last campaign, getting a lot of goals and assists in the run-in, but I'd rather go for Ollie Watkins if possible, but I know why you're doing it. Anything you know about Trent to Madrid? I've seen a lot of rumours circling in the last month. I'm not so sure if it will happen. I think he'll stay at Liverpool personally. It's one to definitely monitor, but yeah, Real Madrid just buy who they want, don't they? So it's going to be difficult to say no to them, that's for sure. Thank you to those that liked the stream, by the way. Massively appreciate. It popped on my timeline, but I didn't see it fully. So I'm not even sure what's the case there. Songs nowadays are so 18 plus. Yeah, I mean, that's not even a big deal for me, to be honest. I just think the quality has gone down. Funds are going to be a big issue given the fact we're used to 6 million Palmer. Yeah, I mean, he was a game breaker. He made it very easy to build a high-scoring team, especially towards the end. But yeah, we don't have that sort of player, it seems. But there's always there's one or two that kind of surprise you. It won't be to the same level as Palmer, in my opinion, but we could have those big gems, those hidden gems with low ownership or low price tags that really make the difference. Real Madrid can sign Trent on AFC. I'll just say FIFA 24. Going to be a painful FPL year. I wouldn't want to think about it that way, but who knows? Maybe it will be. Last season was my worst ever. You know, that was my worst ever rank by far in any fantasy format. I'm hoping to do much better this time round, but yeah, you need a bit of luck. You need to get decisions spot on as well, and skill does play a small part of it. And I think timing is so important as well in FPL. That's another underrated aspect of the game. Not sure what Cucurella did. I think there was a song about Erling Haaland that he did, or that the Spanish players made. I'm very unsure about Eze. I will admit, with Elise going to Bayern Munich, it has made me less keen on Eze and Mateta. But I still think Eze can be a good pun, especially given Palace's opening fixtures. What are your thoughts on the new up to saving 5 transfer policy? I'm a bit against it, personally. I mean, if you look at the pros, in terms of casual managers, those that maybe forget to log in every once in a while, you know, it gives them an incentive to keep on going. You know, it's not like, oh, they burned so many transfers and they're already far behind in their league, they can't catch up. With 5 free transfers, they've got another opportunity. And as for engaged managers, it can also reward those that are careful with their planning, that aren't really just jumping into the high-scoring players in every single game week. But I don't know, I think 5 transfers is excessive. I think 3 or 4 maybe would have been better, but look, it's a nitpick. I always like to give things a chance before making a full judgment, but my current reaction is I think 5 is a bit too much. Why not get Havertz instead of Pedro and Hudson instead of Odegaard? Instead of Pedro? I don't have Pedro right now. I went for Chris Wood. I remember Madonna, MJ, Whitney Houston, but nowadays, yeah, Cardi B, let's not even say Ice Spice, who are mid. Yeah, but even the other names you mentioned, I'm not really a big fan of them. To be honest, it's not my music. Thank you, Bacon. Thank you very much for tuning in. Hey, Dylan, just joined the stream. Hope you're doing well and can't wait for the season to start. We'll be joining your league soon. That's great to hear. There is an auto-join link in the description below. A very simple league code as well, ON86JX. Only real OGs call FIFA still. Yeah. I've played FIFA for so many years, but I don't know, literally, even last year, I bought it so late on, in like December, January, and that's only because there was a massive sale, and I basically got it for like £20 or something. I really want to get in Haaland. He'll farm goals early on and will be a big differential. Big differential? I have to disagree with you on that. I think he's still going to be owned by at least 50%, but I think 60-70% is more likely. Bowen and Kudus good options? Yeah, Kudus would be a bit more appealing to me. He had a great debut season for West Ham. Bowen is very consistent, to be fair, and could be on penalties if Ward-Prowse isn't on the pitch, but yeah, I think Kudus would be my preference there. Mids are good. Mine is Mainu, Odegaard, Hutcherin, and Bruno Fernandes. I want to go for Mainu. Really good player, but like I discussed in Euro Fantasy, I don't think he's really got what it takes in terms of goals or assists to make him worthwhile in this fantasy format, but yeah, the rest looks really good, especially Odegaard and Bruno Fernandes. Michael Jackson, the GOAT of music. Yeah, Michael Jackson I like, to be fair. Like I said, I'm a bit old school. Palmer too, says Manish. Yeah, Palmer looks great. You need a really cheap defense because of mids and forward players. Yeah, it's something that I'm definitely open to. Like I said, a lot of this team is subject to change. You'll see it in my first draft video and podcast, which will be much better than this. Gabriel looks so risky. PTSD from last season, mate. The thing is, though, he didn't play in the Copa America, so he's going to have a break pretty much this summer. In fact, he didn't play, just maybe a few minutes off the bench in one game or something. I can't even remember. I don't think Gabriel will be benched from the beginning. It was a mistake from Arteta to do it last season. You know, he's very important. There was also the links to Saudi, which played a part in the benchings. I think the risk comes in the fixtures and Gabriel being even more expensive this time round. But yeah, you're right to flag it as a potential issue, but I don't think Gabriel will be benched. I have to find Palmer 2.0 to squeeze in Haaland. That's the big question, right? Who is going to be the next Palmer? And even if they were to be a big revelation, it's going to be very difficult to reach that level of a 5 million midfielder who kind of ends up outscoring everybody else. Yeah, Joao Pedro is one of the best 5.5 million forwards. I would rank him above Vardy, but in terms of fixtures, I think Chris Wood is arguably a little bit better, and also Muniz at 6 million. There's rumours that if UFL and other rival games are good, FIFA 25 is going to be free. Yeah, I mean, FIFA every single year now are basically releasing the game for free on PS Plus as part of the monthly games. So yeah, I might just wait until, next March to play the game. Top 5 defenders. I mean, without thinking about price too much, I'd say Trent, Gabriel, Robertson, Gvardiol, and I'd also go... I'd go for one of these cheaper defenders like Hall, Anderson, Munoz, or possibly a Branthwaite. That's my current thinking. Which music do you like, Dylan? Yeah, I like a bit of everything, to be fair, but I'd say my favourite genre is probably rock, especially from the 80s. Hello, Dylan. How's your day going? Very well. What about you? I appreciate you tuning in. Yeah, no, Chris Wood isn't guaranteed minutes. I discussed this earlier, and he's also a very inconsistent player. He's either brilliant or terrible. There's no in-between with Chris Wood. Son is a differential. I haven't checked his ownership, to be fair. You could be right. He might be a nice differential. So let me actually check that for you. So, Heung-min Son. So his ownership is, less than 10%. All things considered, I think that's a decent differential. Yeah, I actually like that, Heung-min Son. It's just, if you look at the fixtures here, I mean, the first two look great, but then it's Newcastle away and Arsenal at home. And let's not forget, Tottenham have been battered by Newcastle at St James's Park in the last couple of years. But overall, if you look at the first 8 game weeks as a whole, it's a pretty decent start for Tottenham. It's just those 2 games, really. Man United away as well, arguably, that look very tough. But yeah, I like Son. I think that's a good shout. I do think he is probably maybe declining a little bit, but he'll still be a good FPL option next season. Thoughts on Porro or Munoz? I'd rather go for Munoz at the moment. He was very good for Palace as a January signing. Obviously carried that form to Copa America, scoring and assisting very consistently. Yeah, I used to listen to Eminem and also other, I'd say, rappers from the 2000s. Yeah, Eminem I think was better before, but yeah, still makes some good music, I guess, yeah. Palmer was finding in Game Week 7, right? Yeah, that's when he started matches, you're correct. We will need to wait for it. Rodgers from Villa is the one I'm looking at. Now, that's a great point you make there. Sometimes with these sorts of revelationary picks in FPL, they might not start in Game Week 1, but they will later down the line. I prefer Gibbs-White or Elanga. Yeah, in isolation, I agree. I prefer Gibbs-White. Elanga's debatable for me, but Gibbs-White is the best Forest asset. Maddison or Son against Leicester? I'd say Son. But of course, Maddison facing his former club, there could be a bit of something to it, but I'd say Son. Rate my team. It's a good team overall. I mean, I'd probably say 7 out of 10. The things I really like about it are Trent and Salah. Obviously, Cole Palmer looks great. I think the picks that I'm not a big fan of include McGinn. Hudson-Odoi I'm a bit unsure about. I think he could be decent, but I think those 2 kind of strike me as a bit, you know, they could be issues. As for Konsa, he's actually a nice defender there to have, but maybe Maatsen would be a better option. Maybe less nailed, but more attacking potential. Thoughts on Isak, Watkins, Havertz, Eze, Salah, Foden, Gordon, front 7? Well, I mean, it's a very solid front 7. You're covering some of the best teams in the country offensively. In fact, you're covering City and Arsenal, also Liverpool. You've got a double up in Newcastle offensively with their 2 best options, Watkins. There's not really much wrong with it. I'm just wondering who your 8th attacker is, which maybe isn't too relevant because it prevents benching headaches, but also the rest of your 50-man squad. But I'm assuming it's pretty balanced. Which player is your top target in Game Week 1? At the moment, it's Salah. That could change though. I feel like no Haaland is the only way I can go this year. It's definitely a viable strategy, but I don't think it's the only way to go, and I'm still considering going for him. But in a lot of the drafts I've shown you today, or when I've been building this draft on screen, yeah, I've found it difficult to have Haaland, and also a 50-man squad I'm happy with. Any suggestions for 4.5 million goalkeeper pairs? I think Jose Sarr would be one of the better options. It's the other 4.5 million goalkeepers I'm less sure about. But Jose Sarr does stand out as a very decent proposition, I'd say, in goal. The other one I'd maybe consider is Petrovic. I think that's how I'd go about it. And if we look at the rotation between Petrovic and also Jose Sarr, let's select them here. So Chelsea and Wolves. So Game Week 1 is the problem. I don't think their fixtures complement each other too well. So Game Week 1, I mean, who'd you even go for at this point? Yeah, unfortunately, I just wouldn't be able to recommend this. And the other Game Weeks doesn't look too bad, to be fair. But Game Week 1, Man City or Arsenal, I mean, a clean sheet would be a miracle, I think. Or very, very unlikely to attain. So, yeah, I'm not going to go for Petrovic there. Maybe instead the answer is Petrovic and somebody else, but I'm going to stick with Jose Sarr, who is in my team at the moment. So if we go back to my squad here, let's see which other goalkeepers I can think of. I think Dean Henderson. Dean Henderson would probably appeal to me. I think Henderson and Jose Sarr. If not Henderson and Petrovic. That's what I'd go for. Wasif says, I'm looking at Ross Barkley to be a potential Palmer 2.0 if he starts. He was so good even in that Luton team, which was quite decent, but not better than Villa. Yeah, but it goes both ways, right? Because there could be more rotation. Also, Villa are in the Champions League. That's a difficult balance between the Premier League and the Champions League. I think they could struggle as a result of that, and they needed signings like Barkley and Maatsen to kind of stay on top. But yeah, as for Palmer 2.0, once again, I'm not trying to discredit, but Palmer had 11 penalties, and that is something you don't see very often. And even with Palmer, I don't think he'll score 20 goals next season. I think he'll score 10, 15 and get 20 to 30 goal contributions, but I don't see him having the same level of goal scoring anyway as what we saw last time out. Salah, Foden or Fernandes? Salah for me right now. Mosoy Reyes says, thoughts? Sanchez, 4 million goalkeeper, Trent, Konsa, Anderson, Robinson, Burn, Hall, Salah, Eze, Gordon, Nkuku, Rashford, or Martinelli, Trossard, Haaland, Joao Pedro, Armstrong. Very solid squad. I like the look of it. Just a bit concerned about Sanchez because it could be Petrovic starting in goal instead. And of course, we won't know because it's a new manager in Maresca. Burn or Hall is fine. I think Hall will be the one to start left back. The rest of your defense looks very solid for me. I would go for Rashford over Martinelli and Trossard right now. I think there could be rotation for the Arsenal pair there. Yeah, the rest looks great. As for the forward line, yeah, Armstrong is the one I'd probably recommend offloading if possible. Now, who'd you go for instead? That'd be the question. I think Jamie Vardy would be one. If you can stretch to a Muniz or Chris Wood, that would be another option for you as well. So yeah, I'd probably get rid of Armstrong personally, but if you are backing him, then fair enough. Every time an England fan says he's coming home, I'd be a millionaire. Well, Alan, it's just a rough draft and things will definitely change. Might not even just be Haaland, it could be other aspects of the team which definitely need improvement. Are there any Liverpool or Man United attackers that you like the look of? Rashford in terms of price. Obviously, Xerxes, as some people mention, could be an option later this season. For Liverpool, it'd be Gakpo, I think. I don't know if it even has to do with the fact that Arne Slot will know Gakpo a bit better than the other players he has at his disposal at that position. But yeah, my favourite from Liverpool is Salah. I've got him right now. And as for Man United, probably Rashford. Yeah, Areola is also 4.5 million, but not too keen on him just yet, even with Lopetegui taking charge. Forgot to add Haaland and Joao Pedro. My comment, is my team better now? But yeah, it is better. Haaland always makes a difference, and Joao Pedro is a decent choice. Bayern are getting Elise, Simmons, Tar, and more. If they don't win the Bundesliga, I'm going to lose it. Yeah, great signings on paper, especially Elise and Simmons for me. Yeah, for Jonathan Tar to leave, I mean, just goes to show you, even with Leverkusen and what they did, it's just Bayern are still the go-to team in Germany. But yeah, I'm not so sure. I mean, I think they'll win Bundesliga. I think Leverkusen will just drop off regardless and also struggle with the Champions League balance. I think Haaland is more essential when it comes to second game week and beyond. Possibly. In certain game weeks, I think Haaland can be classified as essential, but not overall. I'd go for Pickford, Mohamed. Is it rumoured that Sanchez is preferred by Maresca, by the way? Oh, it is rumoured. Yeah, possibly. You could be right about that. Once again, though, look, obviously, these reports might be very reliable, but I always try to reserve judgment until we see pre-season and what the manager goes for. And even that isn't a full indication. Drow says, really happy with that. So yeah, your team is Henderson, Turner, Saliba, Konsa, Gvardiol, Burn, Bellis, Eze, Salah, Foden, Gordon, Luongo, Havertz, Watkins, and Isak. Yep, very solid team. Obviously, the budget players are there to facilitate the starting 11, but overall, very good. And you've got one decent bench option. Not sure about Burn, to be quite honest with you, but the rest looks fantastic. Have you seen Milan transfers lately? They can sign anyone they want, and Inter will smack them 5-1. Same applies to Juventus. Well, football works in cycles, right? AC Milan were the best team in the 90s and 2000s. Juventus dominated in 2010, and now it's Inter Milan's era. Saka or Odegaard? If money is no issue, then Saka. But that always has to be factored in. Burn plus Havertz or Gabriel and Joao Pedro? Gabriel and Joao Pedro right now. 11, Flecken, Kilman, Anderson, Zabani, Salah, Palmer, Bruno G, Rice, Rodrigo, Haaland, Darwin. Interesting team. Some very good picks in there, especially Salah, Haaland, Palmer. Bruno Guimaraes is actually quite underrated in FPL. That's a decent shout. Declan Rice had his best ever FPL output. Yeah, Anderson I really like. Just a bit unsure about Flecken. I'm not sure who your bench is or who your backup goalkeeper is, but yeah, there'd be a few concerns in there. I think Zabani, Kilman and Flecken will be my biggest gripes, but good squad overall. Thank you very much, Rez. I can downgrade a 4.5 million defender to a 4 million one and get a 6 million striker for Armstrong. Yeah, Wout Fass at 4 million could be your 5th defender, so that could definitely work. Newcastle are swapping Anderson for Vlaco Dimas from Forest. Yeah, that is true. I mentioned Vlaco Dimas earlier. That was one of their strange, swap deals to bypass the FFP rules and all this, the Premier League financial rules there they have in place. Grinia says, "Hey Dylan, just wanted to say hi and wish you luck on the new season. Thank you very much, and likewise. Best 6 or 8 or under million midfielder." I have to say, I haven't really considered the budget midfielders, so to speak. So that's a difficult one. I'll try to give you a good answer now. So 5.5 million or under. I think Andres Pereira does, stand out a little bit. One of Hudson-Odoi or Elanga based on fixtures. My favourite though, yeah, Barkley could be a shout. Jensen, as someone mentioned earlier. And look, there's going to be some very underrated picks in here. Even Janel. I'm going to say... I'm going to go for Andres Pereira for now. And then the Nottingham Forest midfielders just behind. And I'm pretty sure we're going to get even more budget midfielders who will rise to the occasion, but not to the same level as Palmer last season, unfortunately. If you had a budget of 20 million for 4 defenders, who would you get? 20 million. So on average, 5 million per defender. I would say Gabriel, one of Munoz or Anderson. Wout Fass. Yeah, 20 million is going to be difficult, right? Jesus, I mean, 2 defenders left and what, 5 million left? Yeah. So scratch Gabriel then. I'd go for Lewis Hall. So Lewis Hall, Anderson, Wout Fass. So you've got 7 million left, 2 defenders. Jesus. I mean, I don't know how I'm going to do that with 20 million. I'm going to have to just go for multiple cheap defenders. I'd try to invest a bit more in this position than 20 million. I think you'll be left a bit short there. But yeah, another 4.5 million defender would be Van der Ven or... I'd stick with Van der Ven for now. But yeah, you're still not going to be able to adhere to that 20 million defensive line. I'm curious about Liverpool's lineup in pre-season. Same here. And you can apply the same logic to all these teams with a new manager. We can find someone that gets half his points for his price. We never had a 5 million player make 200 points. Maybe Bob goes to United and he's the next Palmer just to shut me up, says Raphael. Palmer's one of a kind. Finding the next is close to impossible. He was 5 million because he had no place at City. He had the talent but no space. Well, that's why people mentioned Smith Rowe earlier, and I mentioned Nketiah. If they get a move to another Premier League club, they could be very good options who can get 10 to 15 goal contributions, perhaps even more. But yeah, the level of Palmer was something else. We're not going to see that again. I don't think Palmer will get 20 goals in the Premier League this season, unless Chelsea get a lot of penalties again, which I doubt. Kids nowadays calling every player over 30 finished, I'm guessing. They called Kane finished after England lost the Euro final, and now they're calling Morata finished. Well, Morata, he had a good tournament in terms of what he offered to Spain overall. His movement was good. He was a nuisance to defenders, won a lot of fouls, dived a lot. But Morata's never been a good finisher. As for Harry Kane, he just came off the back of his best ever individual season for Bayern Munich. And in the Euros, he still won the Golden Boot, the joint Golden one. But I think his overall performances were very poor. Semenyo, good option for 5.5. Yeah, good shout again. Premier League are so fishy. Yeah, well, I've said that before, but I try not to kind of bang the same drum because my point's been made. How about Lukaku? I don't think he'll stay at Chelsea, and even if he did, I wouldn't go there. Lisandro Martinez is a steal for only 4.5 million. Yeah, that is true. That is true as well. Let's see if I can make a few modifications to this team, by the way, because I think there are definitely ways to improve this. So let's see if I can go for a 4.5 million forward, and it's probably just going to be anybody. Let's see. Okay, so for now, let's see if I can bring Mr. Erling Haaland back into the equation. As for the back line, I'll get rid of Gvardiol. Pickford and Jose Sarr. I mean, look, goalkeeper rotation is kind of an overhyped thing every single season, and as some people have rightfully mentioned in the live chat and previous FPL podcasts and stuff like that, yeah, sometimes it's the bench goalkeeper who ends up scoring the more points, even the more difficult fixture. They make a penalty save or something like that. We saw it many times with Areola last season, but yeah, I'll keep Jose Sarr for now, actually. Jose Sarr and Pickford is a decent goalkeeper pair. I'll go for Lisandro Martinez. Obviously, he just had a great Copa America, and I think he's going to score a lot of points this season, much more than what he did last time anyway, with all the injuries. But yeah, Lisandro Martinez, Lewis Hall, Fass, Anderson, Gabriel. I might change him, by the way, but I'm still backing Arsenal a little bit defensively. If not, I'm going to go for Gvardiol. Okay, so 1.5 million left in the bank, which isn't great. Yeah, and this is where the issues rise again. Let's go for a 4.5 million forward. It's just going to be absolutely anybody. So I'm going to put Fraser in there for now. 5 midfielders. Yep. Okay, so 3 million over budget. What we could do here. Yeah, downgrade Gvardiol to another sort of budget defender. And this could even be Van de Ven. Or Robinson. I'm going to put Robinson in for now. Now 1.5 million over. I can downgrade Odegaard. No Arsenal coverage. Like I said, there's a problem with every single draft we create pretty much. It's going to be impossible to have the perfect formula. But yeah, I think at 7 million, Kudus is definitely appealing to me. Mbumo as well. But I think I'm going to go for Rashford. Like, it's very early on. It's summer. My brain isn't functioning properly. I'll make that as my excuse. But yeah, Garnacho 6.5 million. Tough decisions to be made. I'm going to go for Gibbs White. I'll go for something like that. If I could stretch to this, by the way, I could make an improvement here. I could even upgrade Robinson to a 5 million defender. There's definitely a few options at my disposal. I'll see if I can get another 5.5 million forward. So, yeah, if it's not Vardy or Joao Pedro, I'll just stick with Joao Pedro there. So 0.5 million over. Just won that final detail. And I'd be quite happy with this 15-man squad, actually. Could even involve downgrading Jose Sarr and going for a 4 million goalkeeper. Konsa, yeah, 4.5. That's another good shout. True, true. Good fixtures as well. Just like Fulham. I could even buy him for Wout Fass, actually. I mean, Leicester's opening 6 fixtures aren't great overall, but you have to say their fixture run until Gameweek 15 looks pretty decent. Especially when we're looking at late September all the way to December. That's a fantastic fixture run. Then it gets very tricky, of course, but yeah, definitely one to look at. But I think I'll keep Wout fast for now, and I will go for Konsa instead of Robinson. So I just need 0.5 million, and I can build a very strong team. But it is pretty much, in essence, a 50-man squad, and there will be benching headaches. So yeah. Justin, here we go. Lenioro to Man United. Yeah, I was asked about what his price will be. My prediction was 4.5. Could even be 5 million, to be fair. I'm more convinced about De Ligt being 5 million if he were to join Man United. Thoughts on Tony? I was asked about him before. Not sure if it was you or somebody else, but I think the first two fixtures for Brentford at home look really good, but they've got some very tough fixtures sprinkled in between. And my favourite Brentford asset is Mbumo. 7 million midfielder, playing out of position. He will be on penalties if Tony leaves the club or whenever he's not on the pitch. So Mbumo is my favourite Brentford asset. Lukaku might go to Napoli, one of Roma's rivals. This guy's a mercenary, man. If that's true, he's an absolute mercenary. Yeah, Dylan, you're correct. The main question is, can Palmer be the next Palmer from last season? Because 250 points from a 10.5 million player, that's cheap. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I just don't think you'll get that many points this season. And a lot of the goals came from penalties. I think he'll score. If I had to make a prediction right now, I think Palmer will get 15 goals and 10 assists, something like that. So 25 goal contributions, but I don't think he'll score 20 goals overall and get 11 penalties. Best horror movie franchise, Dylan, I'm going to say Scream, such a good franchise. Franchise, that's a good one. I mean, I actually forgot the name. The one with the nun, I think it's The Conjuring. It's pretty good. I'm not sure if it's the greatest horror franchise, but yeah, that'll be up there. Then you're looking at older films like The Omen, also The Exorcist, but I wouldn't call them franchises, but they're obviously classic horror films. But yeah, I'm not really a horror movie enthusiast, let's put it that way. Look, it's a possibility. Livramento can play left back and right back, but he's a more natural right-sided player. And towards the end of last season, Lewis Hall played a lot as the left back, and I think that'll be the case here. Garnacho will get good minutes with Sancho back. I still think Garnacho will be first choice. But yeah, that is a good point you raised there. Burn to start over Hall. Maybe. It's not a locked-in part of my team, but I just think if Hall starts in most of this preseason games, building upon, all the consistent starts at the end of last season, I'd be very happy to go for him. I swear Lukaku going to go on loan to Liverpool. Nah, there's no chance Liverpool would want him. And he's another one. On his day, brilliant, but he can be an awful finisher. So yeah, let's see if I can finally build this bloody team. A lot of people obviously down the Hall pick, which is fair enough. I'm going to stick with him for now, I think, unless I downgrade him to Wout Fass. Well, actually, no, I already got Wout Fass. Well done. But yeah, Joao Pedro, Isak, Haaland, Gibbs White, Nkuku, Eze, Salah, Gordon. Looking pretty good, actually. It's just that final pick. I might just go for a 4 million goalkeeper instead of rotating. I think I'll do that for now. So, let's see. 4 million goalkeeper. Not sure if any of these start, to be fair. Not sure if any of them do. Might just go for Turner for now, but I think Sells will be the #1 goalkeeper anyway, so yeah. Not looking good in terms of 4 million goalkeepers, unless there's someone I'm missing, but I don't think that's the case. Interesting. Interesting indeed. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of these, rotating goalkeepers anyway. So for now, I'm going to go for Turner. It's a decent team, so I managed to bring in Haaland here. So the changes I'm making are Jose Sa to Turner, Gabriel to Lisandro Martinez, Gavardio to Konsa, so my defence has weakened considerably, Odegaard to Gibbs White, and then Watkins to Haaland and Wood to Joao Pedro. So you could argue I'm making several downgrades in order to afford Erling Haaland. I mean, that's probably the case. Let's actually check what his ownership is. And you know what, before I do, be sure to actually put your guess in the live chat. What do you think Haaland's ownership is, roughly, speaking? 70%, 80%, 60%, maybe even less? be sure to let me know in the live chat. Best 5-point family midfielder. Difficult one. I think Andres Pereira. I was asked this earlier. Andres Pereira, Gibbs White. Elango, Hudson-Odoi. Those would be my top three. Barkley in fourth, and I think a Morgan Rogers in fifth could definitely enter our thinking as well, if he can break into that Aston Villa team eventually, which I don't think will happen just yet, but I think in the future there is definitely a case for that. Everton have hard first fixtures, I think. Yeah, so if we look at the fixtures, Brighton at home, not the easiest to be fair. Spurs away is definitely tough from a defensive perspective, but then Bournemouth at home, Villa away. I just think it's a great fixture period up until December, basically. I mean, look at that. Up until the 3rd of December in game week 14, a lot of decent games on paper there for Everton. Now, I think last season they started poorly, then they grew into it and, you know, they had a great run. But yeah, I think the fixtures overall are quite good. Well, apparently Calafiori is going to Arsenal, but yeah, compared to last year, Arsenal were just active from the get-go. I just think they're biding their time, but I don't see them making too many signings. You can do Neto for Pickford, true. Neto, Jose Sarr, Emi Martinez. I can also go for example, Maatsen instead of Konsa. There's a few things I can do here. But yeah, overall, I'm quite happy with this setup. I mean, Haaland did get a brace last season against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, but I think Salah and Isak as my captaincy options look very enticing to me. Ward, he's not going to be the #1 goalkeeper for Leicester. No. 40% says Black Shadow, so Hill says 65. Melka says 30. Tommy goes with 40. Liverpool have the best opening fixtures. Which 3 players do you recommend? Salah, Trent. It's very expensive, I know, but Salah, Trent, and I'd say Gakpo. Best 4-point family and goalkeeper. Jose Sarr at the moment, but that will probably change over time. Verbruggen could be decent, but yeah, I'd say probably Jose Sarr. If you had a choice, would you remove VAR from the Prem? No, I wouldn't. I'd change the way it's applied, and I think the biggest problem is the referees who use it. Looking at the Euros, especially in the beginning of the tournament when no English refs were involved, it was used efficiently. The right decision was made more often than not, almost, I'd say 80-90% of the time. So I think the referees are the biggest problem, not the technology. No, Tommy. So it should be Sells. He was #1 for Nottingham Forest. Vlaco Dimos has actually gone to Newcastle in that swap deal with Anderson. So Turner will be the backup, it seems. Hazel says 43%. Maybe you checked, right? So his ownership is actually 28.9%. Okay, I'm not going to lie. That is much lower than I actually expected. And I haven't even gone for him in most of my drafts just yet. But wow, I'm very surprised by that. I thought his ownership would at least be 40%. So that is actually insane. I mean, you look at Man City's run. So if you look at the first 6 game weeks, they've got Chelsea away, Arsenal at home, and Newcastle away, which looks very tough. But up until game week 11, those are 8 plum fixtures for Man City on paper. So yeah, I don't know. Look, I'm not saying I'm definitely going for Haaland, but it's good to see, for the time being anyway, people are going against him and striking more of a balance, and we're seeing a lot more variety in FPL right now. Yeah, I wouldn't trust Brian's goalkeepers because of rotation, and Neto's a great shout. To be fair, though, that was more of a De Zerbi thing, and he's obviously gone now. I think Verbruggen will be #1, and of course, we saw what he did for the Netherlands. Good campaign at the Euros. Very young goalkeeper with so much potential, so I personally think Verbruggen will nail down that spot. Neto, yeah, that's a good shout, and you know, Jose Sarr would be my top pick at the moment. But yeah, it's good to think about alternatives because you don't want to just think about the easy option and what everybody's going for. Mateta. If I were to go for a 7-point family and forward, then Mateta will be near the top of my list alongside Solanke. Watkins is another one who can enter my team. whether for Haaland or Isak is, well, it remains to be seen. But I'm very happy with this 50-man squad, considering it's very rough and there's still a lot more research to do and a lot more thinking and experimenting with this 50-man squad. And you'll see my first draft video on podcast very soon. So be sure not to miss it by smashing the like button and subscribe for new. Let's try to get this stream to 150 likes and let's keep on pushing towards 26,000 subscribers. I've been streaming for, wow, almost 3 hours basically. 2 hours and 38 minutes. Time has flown by very quickly. And FPL went live, what, just over 3 hours ago now at 2:30 p.m. UK time. Just keep sure to, well, experiment, find a balance that you like. Don't just follow the crowd. Go for your, gut instincts, follow your gut. And yeah, go for the best FPL team in your opinion. And hopefully we see a much weaker template this season. And similar to UCL Fantasy and also the Euros World Cup, a lot more variety in our gameplay. So yeah, it's been a pleasure talking to all of you right now. We've covered so many questions and comments. The live chat has been very busy. You can continue the conversation in the comment section down below and also on Discord. And there is also many more ways to contact me, such as my Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and also check all the other links in the description below, including my Spotify and Drafthound, which is a great resource. I'm going to see actually now what Drafthound is saying, but that is a website I've been recommending for the past year. And it's been a fantastic tool. So yeah, I think once they've fully updated, all these different price changes and stuff, Drafthound will be live, and I'll be showing you all the tools and features at your disposal by becoming a member. See you later, Beardy. It's good to see you, and see you to Weiseng. A starting 4 million defender, Woutfas. If Lo Celso starts, I think good option for 5.5. I completely agree with you. Unfortunately, I just don't see Lo Celso starting. I think he should start, and what he deserves is game time. He's been very rusty for Argentina recently, but over the years for the national team, he's been so consistent. And he got the winning assist for Lautaro Martinez's goal for the Copa America title. He's a quality player, but I just think he needs to move club. 30% of 385k is still high, no? Yeah, no, it's still high, but I thought it'd be much higher, if I'm being honest with you. Why don't you switch Anderson for a doggy or Van der Ven? Because Tottenham are usually quite strong and the defenders don't be picking up assists and a few goals. Well, there is a difference in price between a doggy and Anderson, right? Van der Ven's a good shout, obviously, at 4.5, but I just don't really see Tottenham keeping that many clean sheets at the beginning. I think the fixtures are quite tough from a defensive perspective, even Leicester in Gameweek 1. The next live, I'm not sure exactly when. I'll try to do some live streams before the Gameweek 1 deadline stream. So if you don't know me by now, for every single deadline, FPL, UCL, Euros or World Cup, I'm always there 2 hours before the deadline, unless I make it clear just beforehand. I also do reaction streams for FPL. But yeah, I say over the next month, I'll try to do a few other live streams. I'll keep you updated in the community tab. So subscribe to the channel and you'll see when I'll next do a live stream. And the same goes for all my videos on podcasts. But next up is going to be my first draft, where I'll make more changes to my team. And that will be, I'd say, more thoughtfully planned out instead of what I conjured up today. How should I fit Palmer, Salah, Saka, Haaland and Watkins? It's going to be very difficult to do that, mate. You're going to have a very imbalanced 50-man squad. You're going to have to go for a lot of 4 million defenders, 4 million goalkeepers, and to be honest with you, it looks like none of them will be starting at the moment. Maybe Muric could be one to look at, but yeah, I wouldn't recommend going for all of them at the same time. You want to go for a balance if possible, and the best way to do that is probably to sell Haaland in your case and have Palmer, Salah, Saka, Watkins and have a balanced squad regardless, but Haaland has to go there if you want all of the others at the same time there. Take care, everyone. Enjoy the football. Obviously, the Euros and Copa America is done, but we have the Olympics starting very soon and just around a month until the Premier League is back. The Champions League will also be covered on this channel. This is the go-to YouTube channel for UCL fantasy content, and I'll be covering that very soon. So stay tuned. Thank you very much for all your support throughout the summer. It's massively appreciated, and I'll catch you later in the FPL first draft video and podcast coming very soon.